To Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And we are here on a Wednesday, which means that it is Dolphin Time. And that Dolphin Time coming to you every single Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, exclusively on Wake Up Call in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Moyne College Dolphins. We're in year 4 of this unprecedented partnership with Moyne College, and very excited on the opportunity to bring the conversations to your home, wherever you are, all around the world, as we have the opportunity to do today. So with that being said, Callum Donnelly is going to be joining me here in just a second, picture in picture, in our Dolphin Dive, as we get into the story of the Moyne Dolphins men's soccer program. Very excited about this. We get to speak with Callum on the eve of the opening to the 2024 season opener and home opener. And the crazy, awesome, wonderful thing about the schedule is that we got to do this with Yaro Zavaslan as well, with Moyne women's soccer, as we got to talk to him on the eve of his season coming in, and they got to have that last week, and now this week with Callum Donnelly. Very excited to speak with Callum here, and looking forward to that. In hour number 2, it's back. The Fantasy Football Power Hour is back. We'll be talking about fantasy football, getting you set for the upcoming season. Our drafts here in Central and Upstate New York that are exclusively at the Wildcat Sports Pub happen this weekend on Saturday, August 24th, and on Sunday, August 25th. Very much looking forward to drafting with you in the community as always. And we appreciate you being with us worldwide on youtube.com, facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com, inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Like I said, picture in picture. And look at this gentleman here. Fresh haircut. The green is behind him. We have the Moyne banner that is hanging there. We try to do a lot of things here in the studio, but I've realized that I need 2 things from Callum. 1, I need to know his designer. 2, I need someone to, I shave my head here, so maybe Callum's person that works with him can help me with the intricacy of my goatee. Callum, how we doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, and it's always good to see you, always good to spend some time with you. I had the opportunity, the blessing to bump into you at the women's soccer game at Moyne. So knowing that this season, year 2 in the transition to Division 1, puts us in a situation where you get to start off the season, pardon me, at home. Just what that means to you to be able to be here at home, knowing that last season there was a lot of play on the road in that kind of trying to put the schedule together quickly. Now that here in year 2 in this transition, you get to start off in front of your fans in Syracuse.
Yeah, I think obviously it's always a great time to play at home. We were able to do so in a couple of scrimmages as well at the start of the season, which was good. Last season, as you mentioned, was a hefty amount of road games, which was great for us as a staff and as a team to go through all those challenges together. But I think this season will be a little bit more of a normal regular season for us in terms of that we have a pretty amount of even and home and away games, which is good. So I think it's been nice just have a pretty amount of even and being ready for the game tomorrow.
Yeah, and being on the eve of that, what kind of goes through you knowing that? I mean, do you get those jitters at all? I mean, you're a former student athlete, you played at Moyne, you're an assistant coach that was here at Moyne, and then last year served as the interim head coach. This is your first official season without that interim title. You are the head coach, and after they went through the process and a bunch of people applied for this job, they decided that you were the right person to be here and continue this on. So knowing that this is your first official season as the head coach without the interim title on it, do you get any jitters? Do you get that kind of like being on the pitch again, like you're about to play on the field? Do you feel that at all?
Yeah, of course. Why I love this job is I still get the real excitement from it. I think it's different being a coach for sure in terms of you're having to prepare the guys. You need to make sure that the guys are going into the game full of clarity. They understand their roles, their jobs, and also understand that they can just go into the game freely and to try and have that mindset of we want to take care of business at home. Um, I think it's different from being a player where I think you can just go in with the full excitement. I think as a coach, you obviously have all the things that you have to prepare for in the game. What potential changes you may have to make and whatnot. So I think the players, we just try and keep them focused, keep them ready, not get too excited about the game, because I know they're all going to be really buzzing. It's their first game. A lot of them, there's going to be a couple new players playing as well. So I think just trying to keep them level-headed. That it's just another game, but you can't stop their excitement. And never will I want to stop their excitement for that first game. It's always a special occasion.
Yeah, and Callum, you said that there's going to be some new faces out there playing. Bring us into the roster and what it is going to look like in this game and some of those new pieces that you added.
Yeah, so I think the new guys have settled in well. I think we had a really good core group of guys returning. So I think they've kind of set the culture from what we want as a staff and as a program. The new guys have settled in really well. I think we'll see a couple of them tomorrow, which is going to be good. A couple of young players, couple of freshmen. I think the biggest difference from the last year this year is we just have a little bit of a bigger squad, which has been good for us in terms of training and whatnot. Last year was unfortunate with, I think we started the year with two or three injuries that were season-ending injuries straight away. So obviously that put us down numbers-wise. So it's been good. The boys have worked really hard. We've had a couple of tough, challenging games in pre-season against different types of opponents. So they think the guys are prepared, the guys are ready, and then obviously I think it gives us peace of mind for both a staff and player perspective that the season's not going to be won and lost in tomorrow's game. So that's why the guys have to go and enjoy it and show what they can do for the season ahead.
Yeah, and when we look at this roster and we talk about the transfer portal, the roster for the men's soccer team here in 2024 shows guys that have spent time at UNC Wilmington, as well as Niagara, Florida Gulf Coast, Syracuse, and DePaul, Medaille, as well as Dayton. And, kind of just going down the line here, taking a look at where a bunch of these players, SUNY Cortland as well, Missouri State, just what it says to St. Rose about putting together this roster and being advantageous in the transfer portal and looking at bringing in people that have had experience in college and having that be a piece of what you're doing here, as well as obviously recruiting freshmen.
Absolutely. So I think this class we had 8 freshmen come in and then four transfers. So again, we've kind of our recruiting strategy has been a mix of both. Obviously, bringing in freshmen that we can help develop. We're big on development here as a staff. We want to try and every player that comes in, we want to try and improve them. No matter where they kind of stand, if they're going to be playing a lot of minutes, if they're not, we want to try and push them to be the best people that they can be, the best player they can be. And then with that being said, obviously bringing in transfers that have experience of a wide range of whether they're coming from Division 1 or Division 2 or D3. They have different experiences there, and I think them coming into the college environment, they understand what's at stake. They understand the kind of day to day. There's no real surprises when they come in terms of what they're expecting. So I think that can only help the younger players. So I think, as I said, we've tried to get a good balance of the experience, but also bringing in the youth that we feel that we can develop and grow as a unit. So, but the biggest thing for us, regardless if they're transfers or freshmen, is are they going to fit into what we want to do here? Are they the right characters? We want to bring in guys that are willing to learn and willing to grow. Because we have that as a staff as well. We want to try and grow and develop ourselves, and it's only right that we're bringing in players that want to grow and want to develop, and don't think they're the finished product, because I think in any sport you can always get better, you can always improve, and I think that's a big thing from recruiting standpoint.
Yeah, and like you said, bringing in 4 transfers, I obviously named more because there was more that had already been on the roster. But when we see that assembly of all these different schools and names and whatnot, how has that come together before this season with having guys that had transferred in as well? How do you feel like it has worked out in the past? Because the transfer portal is here to stay. It seems to have less parameters than it has parameters. So when we're looking at the transfer portal and you already having a roster that featured some transfers on it, do you feel like it's a workable piece to it? I know you said you got to find the right guys that fit what you're doing, but how did it work last season?
Yeah, I think it worked. I think it's always been something that we've looked out for. I think obviously just the changing landscape of college athletics and soccer in particular is, obviously the transfer portal, like you said, is definitely here to stay.
Yeah.
I think for us, as I said, it's about making sure that we're recruiting with the college in mind as well. We don't want to just go after 15 transfers a year. It's not the strategy that aligns well with the college as well. So I think we have to keep that in mind. We have to keep the academics in mind,
Yeah.
bringing in the right people for the school, the university, bringing the right people in for us as a program. So it's worked pretty well. I think, as I said, it's more so about bringing in the right people, and if we're doing our homework on it, you can't always get them right, but I feel like the guys that we've brought in that are transfers and previously have all been great. They've all added to the program and they've all wanted to improve, which is all we can really ask for. So I think the portal, as you said, it's not gonna change. It's not gonna move away. So I think it's something that we have to look at as well moving forward.
Here with Callum Donnelly, the head coach of the Moyne Dolphins men's soccer program, on the pitch this week, and we're on the eve of it. It happens tomorrow, Thursday, August 22nd in the afternoon against Canisius at Ted Grant Field here in Syracuse, New York. You said that whether it's a transfer, whether it's a freshman, they have to fit what we're trying to do here. How do you define what that is? What is the Lemoyne way for this men's soccer program?
So I think the Lemoyne way is about coming in and trying to improve yourself both on and off the pitch. So all we ask the guys to do, we don't set major targets for the season. I know some coaches are different, some programs are different where they set major goals for the season. I think what we did this season is just all we want to try and do is improve every single day and enjoy the journey rather than the kind of destination. I think that's a big thing that we want to focus on. So I think as I said, it's about guys coming in, understanding that maybe on day one they're not where they want to be. They may not be playing as much as they would have liked, but hopefully by the end of the season, if they continue trying to improve every day and trying to have that attitude to impress, then they can kind of break in and whatnot. So I think that's a big part. I think the culture that's been set before me with obviously Tom and Keith Gage and other coaches along the way of making sure that the all the boys are going to be incredibly hard working. That any team we come up against is going to come away thinking that was a really tough game. Those are all things that I was here as a player, and we want to try and continue that. So building on the traditions that have been laid by other teams, by other coaches here, and then obviously adding in some new stuff that we think as a staff can help us push along the way in this kind of transition with Division One, because obviously it's been a major difference going from Division Two to Division One as well.
Yeah, and for you to be an assistant coach and then become the interim head coach after Tom Bonus decided to step away from the program, and after so many years there, over 2 decades, you come in as the interim, and it's in a transition period to Division One, and now in your second season ever as a head coach, you're in that second year of transition. Not every coach is going through being a head coach for the first time and moving divisions. How have you balanced that? I mean, you're a positive person, you're a hardworking guy. It seems like the guys listen to your message. It seems like they appreciate who you are and what you do, and your staff as well. How have you personally found your way, so to speak? And I know that it's kind of an everyday thing. It's evolving, right? But to be a head coach for the first time, and oh, by the way, guess what? These are teams that you haven't played before. This is a new conference. This all this stuff. How have you navigated through the fact that you're guiding this program in waters they've never been in when you're personally in waters you've never been in?
Yeah, I think sometimes when you put it like that and maybe looking from the outside, it can all be a little bit overwhelming. But I think for me personally, I try to stick with two things along the way. Is when I got the opportunity to take the program over, I said to myself that I have to be myself 100%, and just because there's a title change, or whatever, I'm now the kind of leader of the ship, so to speak. I have to be my absolute self regardless, and so I think with that, obviously being in the transition from an assistant where you're kind of the middleman between the players and the head coach. You're obviously speaking to the players a lot, and I think obviously moving to the head coach, you're having to make difficult decisions, which sometimes is can be upsetting for players. So, but I think I've tried to be my authentic self throughout. I think that's one thing I've tried to maintain throughout this whole process with all the different moving parts happening around me. Um, and then secondly, taking it one day at a time. I just don't think there's, for me as a person, that's the way I like to operate. I like to try and focus on the individual task at hand every single day at training. Can we try and make sure these boys are learning, make sure that these boys are still enjoying it? So trying to work with my staff every day to come up with different ways that we can help push along these boys to maximize their potential. So those are the two things I've tried to do over the year is be my absolute self, and then also take it one day at a time.
Yeah, and I could appreciate that. I could appreciate the way that you go about things. I want to kind of, I mean, there's a lot of places that I want to go to in this conversation today, but I want to thank you for the type of human being that you are, because I don't think that gets said enough. I think in the sports world, I mean, I try to be different here, as you know, but you're a welcoming person. You make time for things, and you really break the game down, and you're honest about stuff. And I want to let you know that I appreciate that, because from the outside looking in, people want to see wins and this, that, and whatever. But to me, it goes beyond that. And it seems like this program has fun. And speaking with Z and speaking with Jack, and just how they are with each other, how they look at the season, how they look at the squad, what they kind of hold themselves to accountability wise. I just want to say thank you to you. Thank you to Tom, of course, and what he's done before, because I really feel like there was a culture, like you had said, that was set. But when people see this open opportunity and say, okay, Callum's the interim, all these people applied for the head coach, who's going to get it? When you got it, to me, there was a peace in knowing the type of human being that you've always been toward me. And I feel like beyond all the stuff that happens on the pitch, I want to say thank you for that, because I feel like, especially in today's world, we need to shout out the positive people and the people that are trying to do the right thing the right way.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I think obviously, yeah, as I said, I've tried not to change who I am as a person. I've just tried to be kind of my positive self. And to be honest, Dan, just to touch on what you're saying, I think the most difficult thing for me as a head coach is I get on really well with all the guys, and I think the toughest part for me with that is that I care about them so much but when I'm giving them bad news, or I'm not able to play all of them at once, I think that's the toughest part of the job. And obviously that's the that's the part I think every head coach can take away from, to their personal lives as well. I think that's
Hmm.
the but I think, as I said, you just got to try and be honest. You got to try and be yourself with these guys and try to be as positive as you can possibly be. And I think that's what we tried to do along the way. Not just me, but my staff as well. That's something we work hard on as well. But no, I appreciate that. Yeah, sometimes it's not said enough in maybe the sport world of how people actually are or interact as a person. So I try and do my best. I'm not always perfect, and I'm sure not everyone is, but I think it's just important that everyone works as hard as he can to be the better version of themselves.
Yeah, no, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And you getting this job before Bob Beretta left to his alma mater of St. Bonaventure, he made that decision, obviously along with others involved, but ultimately as the leader of the athletic department. Before he went on to St. Bonnie's, what does it mean to you that one of those final decisions he made was that he saw something in you that was worth keeping?
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously owe Bob a lot to giving me the opportunity here. I think first and foremost, he gave me the opportunity to take over as an interim, to give me a chance, and whatever happened with the season or whatever happened after the season, um, I'm always grateful for that opportunity for my learning, for my growth, for my career, and then obviously the faith he put in me to take over as the program. I think he understood what it meant to me, what it's as I said, what the foundations were laid of Tom, the my head coach here and my boss for a couple of years as well when I was an assistant. Um, so yeah, fully appreciate that. To be honest, I was obviously from a selfish standpoint, I was upset that he left, but I think also from a human standpoint, I was really happy for him in his new opportunity and his new role at his alma mater. I obviously understand what it means to to work for the place that you went to school at. It's just a different feeling. So I think everyone here, we wish him all the best, and obviously we're excited to see how he does it at Bonnie's.
Yeah, and for this season coming up, as we kind of switch gears back to that, here with Callum Donnelly with the Moyne men's soccer season, literally just a few moments away, knowing that you're going to be at home and having this game coming up here, which is happening for those of you obviously watching and listening live this Thursday, August 22nd at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I look forward to seeing y'all out there. It's supposed to be in the low 70s, and I'm excited to be there. I was there for the women's soccer game, and we'll be there for the Canisius game. After that, you go to Binghamton, and then you go to Syracuse down the road, and then you're back at home for two, and then you go to St. Bonnie's, and then you're at home for Niagara, and then you're at home for FDU. So not until October 3rd do you leave the state of New York. What can you say about that scheduling, that home or on the road, you will be in the state of New York from August 22nd to the beginning of October?
Yeah, I guess I didn't even think of it like that, but I think the one great opportunity that Division One's brought is we have a lot of very good opponents around here. I think obviously in pre-season we just played Colgate and Siena, so I think that was it's good to build those relationships. We've had a good relationships with teams like Niagara and Canisius and obviously Syracuse as well. So obviously to be able to play all them is great for us as a program, but also I think it's good for the college as well to when we come up against the big ACC powerhouse in Syracuse, the national champions of 2 years ago. I think if you'd asked us that a couple of years back when we were Division Two, we would have thought you were mad. But that's what this is brought, this change, this transition, and it's been good. It's great for these boys to test themselves. Some of these guys were brought in as a Division Two program, and I think they've
Yeah.
they've all proven they've all proven why they can be here, and they can thrive at this level, which is fantastic. And I think obviously coming up against these good schools, we can showcase what we've got, and then obviously as we go into October time, we hit the conference schedule, and or late September, October. We hit the conference, and we're looking forward to that again.
And you back-to-back games at Binghamton and at Syracuse. I know both of those coaches, Paul Marco and Ian McIntyre. Just what you can say about those two gentlemen here coming up. I know there's great coaches that you'll go up against here on the pitch, but just your take on that and those two games that are going to be on the road, but Binghamton an hour away and Syracuse down the street. Just what those matchups create, because I know you mentioned Ian McIntyre of Syracuse. Paul is coming off of training, a bunch of coaching opportunities in Kenya. So, just what you could say about those matchups.
Yeah, so obviously, I don't know Paul as well as I do Ian. Me and Paul have had a couple of exchanges, but we're looking forward. I'm looking forward to getting to know him better. I think he's done a fantastic job at Binghamton. I'm obviously looking forward to taking the boys there and building a relationship with that university, so we can play them more times in the future, which is going to be good. So we'll have a conversation on Sunday. I'll pick his brain on a couple of things, and I'll look forward to getting to know him as well. In terms of Mac at Syracuse, he's obviously been when I got the job, he was dropping me a text congratulating me, and he's always let me know that if there's anything he needs, or anything I need, sorry, that I can just go to him at any time, which is obviously fantastic for an unbelievable coach like himself. I think one thing, Dan, that has been really humbling experience for me is getting to know some of these Division 1 head coaches that are at big programs, and how they are as people, and how they want to give their time. And I think that's a massive thing that I've learned over the years, because I think sometimes you see them from afar and you maybe don't understand. You see them as these great coaches, but you forget actually they're first and foremost that they're human beings. And I think they've all been fantastic to me. They've always lent out a helping hand. But I'm a young coach. It's my As you said, it's my first gig. So I think people like Ian have always been there to help him. Obviously we look forward to playing him. I think it's going to be a fantastic occasion, a fantastic game for us. Obviously hopefully there's going to be a good crowd. It's going to be an evening game. So I think just for the experience of our boys, it's fantastic. And then over the next couple of years, hopefully we can continue to build the program, and continue to be competitive within the state of New York, and then hopefully in the region as well.
Yeah, no, definitely looking forward to this. And like I said, this season kicks off tomorrow, August 22nd at 4 o'clock against Canisius. For us, really quick here, because I know you got to get hopping. I'm going to jump right into rapid fire and let you put me on the hot seat. Callum, what do you got for me?
Okay, what did I ask you last time? It was your favorite meal, wasn't it?
It might have been, yeah.
Maybe favorite meal, favorite vacation spot. Remember you said somewhere down in Florida, wasn't it?
Yeah, I do like going down there. I do.
Yeah. Okay. Let me think of this. All right, if you had to, have a meal with three celebrities or sports athletes or whoever, three people of your choice, who would you pick?
That's a good question. I hmm. Mm-mm-mm. All right, I'm gonna make this one a little bit interesting here. So I'd want to have a meal with Dave Chappelle, and because I feel like him and I would have some deep conversation. It's funny, but he also thinks very deeply about stuff. So, and cerebral. And if you listen to his message, he's really like he's trying to go beyond. So, I would hang out with Dave. I Bill Burr, because he's unique and he's a different type of comedian. So I'd hang out with Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, and I would say my crush, who is single, one of my crushes there, Megan Good. So Megan Good would be my date, and then I'd be talking with Dave and Bill about life, and that would be fun. So my question back to you. Let's see here, Callum. if you and I were starring in a movie together, what would be our job? Like, what do we both do for a living? And where would this comedy take place?
I could see us both like if we were doing an acting shoot, maybe like driving around as policemen, going to the old stereotypical going to a donut shop or going to get coffee and driving around and then, just chatting until we have to actually do the job. So, I could see something like that, the two of us together.
Yeah, I would definitely be the guy where you would be driving. I'd have my window down and I'd say, Callum, hit it. And then you'd hear, whoop, whoop. And I would put my head out the window and I'd go, that's the sound of the police. So I would definitely have a good time with that. Your final
Yeah.
question for me, sir.
So another question for you.
Yep.
Uh, All right, who's winning the? I'm not a major NFL fan. I think I still have to get used to it and whatnot. But who's winning the Super Bowl this year?
It's really hard to think that the Kansas City Chiefs are not poised to do it again. Uh, there are some teams that will probably. There's always somebody that'll shock. There's somebody that'll do something, but I the NFC is tough because I don't know if there's anyone that sticks out. I know people want to say San Francisco, but I just feel like Kansas City is really, really tough. I think Houston's tough too. I think the Texans are a team that could definitely make it far, but I think it's Kansas City's to lose again. I know people might not want to hear that, but somehow this team that won a Super Bowl traded picks with the Buffalo Bills, who allowed them to go ahead of them to draft the fastest guy in the draft. So kind of ridiculous. But I do have an Xavier Worthy autograph card if anybody wants one, Kansas City fans. My final question to you, Callum, is that we've talked about a lot of things going into the season, about your roster, about the schedule, and Chicago State and Mercyhurst are two new faces that are going to be here in the NEC. So what has been your favorite part of being a head coach and this transition that has had a lot of newness and a lot of different things happening?
Oh, good question. I think the best thing about being a head coach is every day is different. So I think I'm big on growth. I'm big on learning. I don't want to be stuck in a place ever being comfortable. And I think this job challenges you in so many different ways, and you have to wear so many different hats. Um, so I think obviously that I think the growth of me as a person, I've had to mature a lot in a short space of time. I've had to learn how to separate myself from the job. Although I don't know if I don't know if anyone can truly. Um, but I think it's important to also make sure that you have time for your friends and your family and yourself. Most importantly, to make sure that you're the best version of yourself. So I think obviously, yeah, just the growth, the learning opportunities, and the fact that no day is the exact same in this job. And I think obviously with going into year two of the transition is uh hopefully these guys going in earlier on than last season with confidence that they deserve to be here and they're more than good enough to compete. I think last year it was such an unknown. It was such of all of us being in a situation that we'd never been in before. Um, and I think it took us a couple of games to okay, all right, this is it. It's not we're here, we're ready for it, and so I think I'm excited for that. I'm excited for year two of the transition. I think there's going to be a lot of challenges along the way, but we're ready for it. We're going to tackle it straight on.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, last season you made it into the postseason of the NEC and went up against FDU in a close matchup there. So already making history, early on is this Lemoyne Dolphins men's soccer program. They'll be on the pitch this Thursday, August 22nd, 4 p.m. against Canisius at home at Ted Grant Field. We look forward to seeing you out there. Callum, time always flies. I always have a lot of things that I want to talk with you about because I love this sport, and you help, you definitely, personally, you help me to love it more. So you and the guys are very excited. It's different when you know the people that are making the music, so to speak. So I look forward to seeing you out there for the game tomorrow. Look forward to this 2024 season. And as always, I appreciate the fact that you are so generous with your time here on the show and in general when we have the opportunity to talk.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. Always good to catch up, and thank you for the opportunity to talk today as well.
Of course, man. Fins up. I'll talk with you. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, take care, man.
Take care.
Yeah.
See you. Coming from Callum Donnelly one more time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. And yeah, I mean, there's so many things in my head. I'm like, okay, scheduling, these home games, home opportunities, the fact that they're not going to leave the state of New York for over a month, which was not the case last season. Started last season on the road, to looking at the roster and the transfers and some of these schools that they've transferred from, the Daytons and the Syracuses and so on and so forth, to some of those matchups that are coming up that are going to be happening here, like playing Syracuse down the road, who won a national championship in recent history under Ian McIntyre, who I consider to be somebody that I would call him a friend, and I value him very much. So there's a lot of great things, but time flies by, really. And what I said in the middle of all of that, when I thanked Callum for the type of human being he is, he's just easy to talk. You know, there's people that you just, because I bumped into him last week at the Lemoyne women's soccer game, there's just people that are welcoming. And he saw me from far away, and I saw him, and he yelled out, he's like, Dan! He's like, Dan, how you doing? And he always says, you're good. And so he saw me, and he was like, Dan, and we walked toward each other and stood there, and we talked, and we caught up, and he's one of those people that I just like want to stand on the sideline with him and just have him like teach me, right? Be willing to learn and to grow and just see, like, did you see what I did there? Do you know why we run this drill? Do you know why we do this? And I told him, I said, I want to be out there at practice. And he was like, come on. So I'll be out there at practice. We'll be hanging out, and I'll be out there at the game tomorrow because it's extremely important to me to be out there. So I look forward to it. Loved being out there for the women's soccer game, and spent a lot of time on the pitch with Lemoyne last season, and we'll do it again. So a lot of great stuff coming up, a lot of good things with the men's soccer season and the women's soccer season. So just to give you a little telling of the schedule, or telling of the first time for those of you just tuning in, Canisius is the first game this Thursday, August 22nd at 4 p.m. Then they're on the road this Sunday, August 25th at 1 o'clock against Binghamton, which is an hour away. Then on September 2nd on a Monday night at 7 p.m., they'll be at Syracuse University down the streets. Then they'll be back at home for 2 games non-conference, and all these non-conference games to start the season. They'll have the University of Delaware coming to town, the St. Peter's University squad coming to the town as well. 2 birds, which is something that you may not know, right? So I mean, that's something that's kind of cool and unique. Those back-to-back home games are going to be against the Birds, so you will see them, the Blue Hens of Delaware, and then you'll see the Peacocks of St. Peter's. Then they're on the road at St. Bonaventure, which is a game where Callum will, I'm sure, see Bob Beretta again. That game is in the state of New York against the Bonnies. Then they're going to be home against Niagara. Then they start NEC play on Sunday, September 29th, where they will face FDU. So the first team that they play in the NEC this season is the last team they played in the NEC last season, when they made it to the postseason in their first year in transition from Division II to Division I in the NCAA. They played FDU in the NEC playoffs. So their first NEC game is going to be against the last NEC team that they played. Then they'll be on the road at Chicago State, which will be their first road NEC game of this season and first game against Chicago State since Chicago State joined the NEC in all of their sports. Then they'll be at Stonehill, who is also a Division II school that left a year before Lemoyne did from the NE10 to the NEC. And then they have Lafayette at home, Central Connecticut State at home. The Lafayette game is not a conference game. So when they go into the NEC, they have one more non-conference game. That's Lafayette. And then they'll play Central Connecticut State at home at Mercyhurst, who's joining the conference for the first time. They're in transition from D2 to D1. And that game will be in Erie, Pennsylvania. Then they're home against Howard, who's in the NEC for certain sports, but not all, one of them being men's soccer that they're in for. They'll be at St. Francis, and they'll finish up the season the way that they started the season, which is at home. And not every team gets to bookend a home game as the opener and a home game as the regular season closer, but hopefully not the last game of the season for the Lemoyne Dolphins men's soccer team on the pitch. They'll play LIU on November 7th. And here's the funny thing. They start the season at home. They end the season at home in the regular season, and they're both on a Thursday. The LIU game is Thursday, November 7th at 3 o'clock. And then on the women's side, to give you a little update here, the women's soccer team for Lemoyne, who started their season last Thursday and got to have their season opener be a home opener as well to mirror the men's team here. Their schedule is as follows, and we talked about spoke with Yaro Zavaslan last week on the eve of his game. We talked to him aired that on a Wednesday and airing this on a Wednesday. They played the University of Maine to open up their season at home, and then they went to Robert Morris on the road. Both of those non-conference games ended in losses. They'll be back at home this Thursday on August 22nd. So as the men have their season opener and their home opener, the women will be playing in a doubleheader before the men, and they'll be playing at 1 o'clock. So the women's soccer team will be playing Niagara at 1. The men will be playing at 4 against Canisius, both playing schools from the state of New York, which is really, really cool. And so you can not only go out and see the men tomorrow, but you could see the women tomorrow in a doubleheader during the week, which is really awesome to see. And I hope the fans show out for a great doubleheader opportunity. Then the women are home against Siena next Thursday, so they have a week off in between, and then they'll play next Thursday at home. Then they'll play Sunday at home, Sunday, September 1st. Then they'll play Thursday, September 5th at home. Those games are Siena, Iona, both in the state of New York. Then they play Temple. Temple coming in to this as well, which I'm excited to see that as Temple is going to be facing off against this women's soccer team for Lemoyne, which is really, really cool. And I'm looking forward to that for sure because I cover Temple. So, I cover the entire American. So that's really cool for me to be able to see this, the American Athletic Conference coming to town and facing off against Lemoyne. God is all too poetic in my life with this. Then they're at Stony Brook. Then they have Binghamton at home, whereas the men have Binghamton on the road. Then they have Canisius on the road, where the men have Canisius at home. And the NEC play starts off for Lemoyne Dolphins women's soccer at home against Mercyhurst, then at Howard, then LIU at home, then at Stonehill, Delaware State, then at Chicago State, St. Francis at home, Wagner on the road, Central Connecticut State at home, and they will play FDU in their last game of the regular season. And again, kind of funny how this all happens and ironic. The last game that they'll play in the regular season is against FDU, and that was the last game, like I said, that the men played last season overall. That game against FDU for the women's soccer team at Lemoyne is going to be on Halloween, Thursday, October 31st at 4 o'clock, and it's going to be on the road. So the women end their season on the road. Their last home game is October 27th against Central Connecticut State, a game before that Halloween game, and that game will be at 3 o'clock, October 27th on a Sunday. So a lot of awesome stuff coming up for men's and women's soccer at Lemoyne, and I look forward to covering all of that for you, as we always have here, as Lemoyne's exclusive multimedia marketing partner. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break inside of the Heritage Hill Studios, and we'll be back with more conversation around the sports world before we get into the Fantasy Football Power Hour, which is happening right after this first hour. In the second hour, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, proudly presented, as always, by the Wildcat Sports Pub. Central New Yorkers, you can now enjoy the taste of Heritage Hill award-winning craft beers, seltzers, and a full bar at 3 locations. Spend your weekends at their beautiful location in Pompey with its amazing views, sunsets, family, and pet-friendly facilities, as well as extensive private event areas. Get their taps, tonics, and tastes in their brand new North Syracuse location at Sweetheart Corner in North Syracuse, New York. When flying in and out of Syracuse Hancock International Airport, make sure to visit their Palladino Farms location. At Heritage Hill, they believe in supporting our community and are excited to now meet you where you're at and where you're going with their local farm-raised tastes. Find out more information at heritagehillbrewery.com. Here's a message from Renee from Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Brian's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there's something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 2007, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There was a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There was a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience, it's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really change the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allow customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servamation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machines, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machines. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. In a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I could tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Appreciate you being here with us inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Heritage Hill on 3149 Sweet Road in Pompey, New York, out there at the brew house in the country, the rolling hills of central and upstate New York, and of course at Heritage Hill North, their newest location, which you'll find on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, right at Sweetheart Corners, right by the Syracuse Hancock International Airport, as well as Cicero and Clay, Baldwinsville, Liverpool, Mattydale, and very, very easy to get to from the highway and from so many communities in central and upstate New York. A great, great new location that is centrally located and easy for you to get to. So we look forward to seeing you out there, including tonight. We're going to be out there tonight at Heritage Hill North, and that is for our CNS football preview broadcast. We're going to be heading into the football season and getting with the coaching staff and the student athletes of CNS North Stars football as we head into the season. So we get to usher in the season with a live broadcast with a new head coach, Coach Ryan of the CNS North Stars, as well as being there with the student athletes and the families. So I ask all the families to come out, the student athletes, the coaches, their families, and for you all to come out and support the team. So if you want to celebrate the CNS North Stars, which we do every month on site on location at Heritage Hill North, if you would like to do that tonight, as well as usher in the football season and just get out and have a night out for a little while and, grab some drinks if you're of age, and of course drink responsibly, and get some food. They got some awesome flatbread pizzas and whatnot. Then we'll see you out there tonight, August 21st at 7 p.m. at Heritage Hill North on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse. And we will be celebrating the CNS North Stars going into the 2024 football season. So I'm very excited about that. Really looking forward to everything that is to come and the conversation to be had with Jim Ryan. Jim Ryan, the new head coach of the CNS North Stars football program. Jim has been here on the broadcast with me on the heels of him getting the job. We did a broadcast together and now he is going to be with me for the first time ever in person. So Jim Ryan and his staff and the student athletes tonight, Heritage Hill North, come out and see us at 7 o'clock on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, New York, right by Sweetheart Corners, down the street from CNS High School, where the team will be competing this season. So we'll see you tonight at 7 o'clock at Heritage Hill North with the CNS North Stars. And, of course, we'll be broadcasting on all of our channels. So if you're out of town, you can come and watch us and listen to us on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. So you won't miss a moment of anything going on in that broadcast. And we're going to do what we usually separate it into parts, so there'll be multiple broadcasts for you to be able to check out. So very excited for that tonight, and always look forward to getting out into the community and having some fun. So with that being said, I cannot wait for what's coming up this week, which Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora will be going into. I want to say it's year 13, 12. Well, let me think about this. If I was down there in 2009, so 2009 to now would be 15 years. So we're going into year 14? Well, the Fantasy Football Power Hour here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora obviously is connected to our Wake Up Call Fantasy Football Leagues. And we have a couple here in Central New York that draft at the Wildcat Sports Pub. We have one down in the great state of Florida, our second home and hub of Wake Up Call, and my second home. And we have also done some other ones. We've done national ones. We've done Marywood alumni of my alma mater. We've had that as well. So we're stepping into our drafts. I try to do ours late. And the reason why I do that is I try to get us through preseason, let us see some action with these players against different teams, and also to navigate through rookie minicamp and OTAs and training camp and preseason to as far as we can through preseason to see who's injured and who's not. Hopefully nobody is, but I do our drafts late so that we can see them go up against competition that's not their team, and then see, who's healthy and who's not. Because sometimes when you draft early, you think, oh, I got a really good team and I got myself all set up, and then you find out that, somebody goes down with an injury right before the season. And I know sometimes things, happen 5 seconds before the season starts. And so, you can't wait forever to draft, but I wait as long as we can until that week or week before the season kicks off, so that we can put ourselves in a position where, we'll be able to navigate through a lot of those injury pieces that we'd already know about. Like, okay, this guy's hurt. He got hurt in rookie minicamp. He got hurt, first game of the preseason, that type of thing. So we're prepared for that. So welcome to the Fantasy Football Power Hour. Not one of, but the Fantasy Football Power Hour. It's what you should be listening to every single week going through the fantasy football season and beyond, right here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. It is proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. The Wildcat, the Fantasy Football Power Hour. The Wildcat is where you can watch all of the games all season long, and you could do that by going to 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. And, of course, they are open 7 days a week. They're open for Thursday night football and Monday night football, and when those Saturdays have football, and, of course, Sunday for football all throughout the day. So make sure you head off to the Wildcat and let them know that DT sent you their way. And if you're going to stay at home, or you're going to your friend's house, or you're chilling back at home with your parents or your significant other, or your kids, your grandparents, whatever you're doing, if you're watching the game back in your crib or one of your friends' places, then you can, of course, order takeout and delivery from the Wildcat by calling 315-487-2222. So make sure you do that. This is the Fantasy Football Power Hour, and I am so happy that we're back here with it. I can't believe it's back, but we have our drafts here in Central New York this Saturday, August 24th, and Sunday, August 25th at the Wildcat Sports Pub. And then the week that we kick off the season, we'll be drafting down in Florida, hopefully, here in early September. So a lot of great stuff coming up. And this primer for the fantasy football season is going to take a look at some of these things that's going on in fantasy football here. And looking at, now we have a hybrid of PPR and standard. So what that essentially means is there's a lot of ways to score in my league. Taking a look at average draft position and whatnot, ADP, that average draft position of what's going on here. Josh Allen, as far as taking a look at where quarterbacks are drafted overall here. Josh Allen has been the first one off the board, and Patty Mahomes has been right behind him in most scenarios. It's not really different from last year. You know, we went into the season over these last couple of years where arguably Josh Allen was the one that you picked up before you picked up Patty Mahomes. Some people went the other way, but the two guys off the board, you know, it was either Allen, then Mahomes, or Mahomes and Allen. Jalen Hurts is up there, Lamar Jackson, because he's a jack of all trades. I told you Lamar was an NFL quarterback. I felt like I said that in a silo. I felt like I was by myself when I said that years ago, sitting here in my studio. And now, you know, people, Lamar, now it's like a given thing. Lamar's a good quarterback. He's great for fantasy, blah, 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 blah. But when he first came out, there wasn't a lot of people that I think were willing to go out and say that he was going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. I believed it. I covered him. I interviewed him when he was at Louisville, and I just felt like he could do it. I'm happy that he is. Jalen Hurts is up here as well. Some are taking him second of the quarterbacks. Some are taking him third. C.J. Stroud has been taken pretty high here. He's been the fifth or sixth quarterback coming off the board. And C.J. Stroud, I think, is poised to have himself a really potentially awesome season. They do talk about the sophomore slump and all that stuff, but I feel like, and I'm not wishing on that for him or hoping on that for him, C.J. Stroud's a fantastic player. I've collected his cards. I've traded and bought his cards more than any other player, I think, recently here over the last couple months. Anthony Richardson's right behind him. Then Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is actually behind both of these guys. Anthony Richardson didn't really play last season because he got hurt. After Joe Burrow, we have Jordan Love, who's come up a lot, I think, in people's minds. I think last year they were afraid to take him. And I spoke with Tim Lester, who was, before he went to Iowa to be their offensive coordinator this year, he was with the Green Bay Packers last year. And him and I were talking about Jordan Love and how, you know, people in Green Bay, pun intended, love this guy. And, you know, we were talking about his footwork and different things and things that we didn't know about him. And he was high on him. And now people are more high on him going into their fantasy football drafts. Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott's takeout, that's the top 10. Brock Purdy's going in there as well. I'm surprised that some are taking Dak Prescott over Brock Purdy. I'm surprised that people are taking Kyler Murray over Brock Purdy. Jaden Daniels shows up on the average draft position list, and this is amongst a bunch of different sources. So this isn't just coming from one source. This is saying, okay, in the ESPN drafts, in the Yahoo drafts, in the CBS drafts, like, where is the average draft position? The highest rookie quarterback in average draft position, ADP, is Jaden Daniels. Not surprised. He's the quarterback that I decided would be, in my opinion, the rookie that would have the best season in the NFL of the 2024 quarterback class. And then there's Tua Tagovailoa, which is right after Jaden Daniels, or right there with Jaden Daniels. And then Caleb Williams shows up on here. Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence is above Justin Herbert and Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers' average draft position is anywhere from 14 to 21. 14, 19 in a bunch of them, 21 as well. I think that's just people concerned with him staying healthy and hopefully he will. And then Bo Nix, who's my sleeper to be a good quarterback in this 2024 draft class, who will be quarterbacking for the Denver Broncos. His position has been anywhere from 18 to 29. He's been 18, 23, 25, 28, and 29. I do think he's a good backup to have. And I think there's a good chance that I'm going to be able to pick him up in my drafts, unless y'all are listening right now. Please shut it off for a second here, earmuffs. But I think people are going to stay away from him. They might laugh when I pick him up, and I don't care. Christian McCaffrey, no surprise here. CMC did something that I've been playing fantasy football for over 2 decades, and I have never seen a running back ever in over 2 decades that I've played fantasy football. I started when I was like 12. I'm 38 now, so like 26 years of fantasy football for the most part, and I have never seen a running back go from the number 1 ranked fantasy running back in the country to not being the number 1 to getting back to being the number 1 again on a different team. Christian McCaffrey has done the unimaginable. First and foremost, he's got a good contract extension as a running back, which they haven't been paying a lot of these guys a lot of money, like the Derrick Henrys of the world and Zeke Elliott's and so on and so forth. And CMC not only gets a nice contract extension, but he goes from being the number 1 running back and to some people the number 1 overall fantasy player when he was a Carolina Panther to being the number 1 running back, and to a lot of people going into this fantasy football season, the number 1 overall player coming from the San Francisco 49ers, and last year, arguably the number 1 overall player, not just number 1 overall running back. So no surprise that of everything I'm seeing here, he is first. Breece Hall is around 2nd or 3rd, and Bijan Robinson. Bijan was really high on people's lists last year. His ranking was high as a rookie, and now they have Kirk Cousins as their quarterback. We'll see if he can get the ball out to Kyle Pitts, since nobody has been able to seemingly utilize what I think could be a very dangerous weapon and one of the best tight ends in the nation. So hopefully we can see that with Kirk Cousins. Beige is in the top 3, 2 or 3. Breece Hall, no surprise there. I saw his stats coming out of college, and I really was excited to see him be a Jet. I predicted that he would be a Jet, and I think a full healthy season for him, God willing, we can see maybe some crazy numbers come out of this. I would say over 1,000 yards, not even 1,000. I'd say over 1,000. Saquon Barkley, people are high on Saquon, drafting him between 4 and 6 when it comes to running backs here. And Saquon Barkley, somebody overall, he's being drafted around 11, and running back wise being drafted 4th here. Saquon, a lot of Giants fans. Well, I should say the Giants. Some of the Giants fans I've talked to are super pissed. The Eagles fans are really excited. This guy, as I said a couple of years ago, DeAndre Smith, good friend of mine, met him when he was the Syracuse running backs coach. He was responsible for bringing in Moyne, who had over 2,500 rushing yards. He would have had more if the staff, because remember, DeAndre recruited him, and then Schaefer was fired and the staff was let go, so he never got to coach him. He was with Dino, and if he was used as a true running back in the first couple seasons, I think he would have had 3,000 yards instead of 2,500. So when we look at DeAndre, I said if anybody's going to help Saquon to be Saquon again, go back and check the tape. I said that would be DeAndre Smith. And DeAndre was there with the Giants, and he was the running backs coach, and he worked with Saquon, and Saquon came back, and Saquon had an awesome season. And I think that's why Philly fans are so high and Giants fans are so bitter, and fantasy fans got Saquon back in the top 4. Jonathan Taylor, so he's above, Saquon is above Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor, taking a look at what he's done statistically, Jonathan Taylor here last season, as we take a look at his stats in 2023, he had 741 yards, 7 touchdowns. Looking at him in 2020, when COVID happened, he had 1,169 yards and 11 rushing touchdowns, 5 yards a carry. In 2021, he had 1,811 yards, 5.5 yards a carry, 18 rushing touchdowns. In 2022, he had 861 yards, 4.5 yards a carry, 4 touchdowns, and last season 741, 4.4 yards a carry, and 7 touchdowns. So his numbers they went up and then they went down, and he hasn't had 1,000 yards in these last couple seasons. But also to make a note here for Justin Taylor, the interesting part of this is, well, I shouldn't say the interesting part of this. The thing to kind of take note of and pay attention to is in 2020 when he had over 1,000 yards, he played in 15 regular season games. In 2021, he played in them all, 17. In 2022, he played in 11, and last year he only played in 10. So, when you look at his numbers going down, he was playing less games. His health, obviously, extremely important, and God willing, every player of any sport, and really anyone anywhere, on or off the fields and courts of life and pools and whatnot and tracks, I hope everybody's healthy and safe and happy in Jesus' most precious name. Amen. Name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. I always pray that for all of you that are watching and listening. Whether or not you believe in God, I pray for you. And Jonathan Taylor, again, praying for him and hoping that he's healthy. His numbers have gone down, but his time on the field has gone down. So can't really knock him for that. You just have to monitor the fact of him staying healthy, which was a thing with Saquon before. And so now that Saquon's back, hopefully Jonathan Taylor will be back. Jahmyr Gibbs, people are high on him. He's going like 13. So, in a 10 to 12 team league, he's going early in the second round. And he's going 6th amongst running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs at Detroit. This was a guy that I thought would have a really good season. Thought it was a good fit for Detroit to bring him in, and he had a really good season as a rookie. Kyren Williams, he shot up the list. Coming from Notre Dame and playing for the Rams, he has definitely been a pleasant surprise in my opinion, and he is in the top 7 here. Travis Etienne Jr., he's 8th. He's going 8, 7, 9, somewhere around there, and so they have him up here in the top 10, Travis Etienne Jr. He's been a jack of all trades, really helping the team out and done some good things, and I've gotten to see that live in covering Jacksonville. Derrick Henry's still in the top 10. He's in his first season with Baltimore. We'll see what that looks like with a running quarterback in Lamar Jackson. Is this going to help or hurt his stats? And then Devon Achane, he is in the top 10. And kind of cool here, 10/21 is my birthday. He is 10 for running backs, average draft position 21 and overall. And Achane is somebody who came in as a rookie last year. I love that he's in the top 10 because I got some rookie cards of him, including a rookie sweater that I picked up. It's a card that has, instead of a patch of a jersey, it has a patch of like an ugly sweater. And I just picked that up at the Fishtown Card Show in Rivers Casino in Philadelphia. So if somebody likes Devon Achane, you can come over and talk to me about the rookies that I have, including that rookie sweater card that I just picked up. But he's shot up the list as well with Kyren Williams. Josh Jacobs is just outside of the top 10. Isaiah Pacheco had some good games, sometimes inconsistent. James Cook has some good moments, inconsistent. Rachaad White, I think there's another guy from Tampa. He's a good 1-2 punch. If a bunch of running backs go off the board and you get one of those guys, if you get like a Gibbs or a Saquon or something like that, and then you pick up Rachaad White, I think that's a good 1-2 punch for you. I think he's going to have a good season. Joe Mixon's in his first season with Houston. We'll see what it looks like in that type of prolific offense. He was obviously working with Joe Burrow and the crew. Now he has C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, and Stephon Diggs and Dalton Schultz and whatnot in this offense. So we'll see what that looks like. Kenneth Walker III he's at 15, 16 area, right around that area. Kenneth Walker III for Seattle. I think he drops down a little bit because we've seen multiple backs in Seattle. Alvin Kamara, that used to be a top 4, is now 17. His average draft position overall is in the 40s, 43rd from what I'm looking at here. James Conner has dipped down here to 18. Aaron Jones has definitely dipped to 19. David Montgomery in Detroit with Jahmyr Gibbs. That's a good, if you're going to handcuff, there's certain teams that utilize both of their running backs and they both get some good play. And Detroit's one of those teams. David Montgomery had himself a really good season, in my opinion, last year. And you wonder how that's going to work out, right? When you have two running backs, you wonder what that's going to essentially truly look like. And I thought it was good for them. When you look at David Montgomery last season, he had over 1,000 yards, 219 carries with Jahmyr Gibbs there, 219 carries, 1,015 yards, 4.6 yards a carry, and 13 touchdowns, sharing the backfield with Jahmyr Gibbs. And Jahmyr Gibbs last season had 945 yards, 5.2 yards a carry, and 10 touchdowns. So you got both guys in the same backfield with double-digit touchdowns, one with 1,000 yards, one just shy of 1,000 rushing yards, and both of them around 5 yards per carry. So, I mean, the handcuff of handcuffs, arguably. DeAndre Swift in Chicago. DeAndre's bounced around here. He's been DeAndre's been in a few different places. He started out in Detroit, and then he went to Philadelphia. Now he's in Chicago. And looking at him by the numbers here in Detroit, he came in the COVID season, 2020 as a rookie, 521 yards, 8 touchdowns, then 617, 5 touchdowns, 542, 5 touchdowns. Last year for Philly, he had 1,049 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4.6 yards carry, and they didn't want to keep that. So a little strange to me that he had such a short-lived time in Philadelphia, but, could be really good for Chicago, who's been looking to have a dominant running back. Zamir White, who I told you all about, I covered him in college, and he's made it just outside of the top 20 when it comes to average draft position of running backs, and he's being drafted in the late 60s there, around 68 overall. And, Zamir White is a guy whose name you may not know of. You may still not know of that name, but covered him in college. He played for Georgia and was there with James Cook, and just watching this guy and seeing him come into the league, I felt good about it. And he played 2 seasons with the Raiders so far, and is a rookie in 2022, was barely used, had 17 carries for 70 yards, 4.1 yards a carry. Last year, he went from 17 carries as a rookie to 104 as a sophomore in the NFL, 70 yards to 451, 4.3 yards a carry, right there with his average of 4.1 the season before. So he's been consistent with that. And, he only has 1 rushing touchdown, but he's been utilized. And now that there's no Josh Jacobs with the Raiders, he could be that guy for them. So that's probably why he shot up here. Ramondre Stevenson still on the board in New England, and Najee Harris at Pitt has definitely dropped down. He's 24 overall for running backs in average draft position. Raheem Mostert in Miami, he's down here because they use a committee. Tony Pollard in Tennessee, no Derrick Henry. Tony Pollard leaves Dallas. He is at 26. His average draft position is right around 80 overall. Zach Moss is in Cincinnati after starting things off in Buffalo. Javonte Williams in Denver, he's dipped off. There was some hype for him. I had some hype for some excitement for him coming in. I covered him at college when he was at North Carolina. He's 28 among running backs, 82 average draft position overall. Nick Chubb has absolutely fallen way down. He's 30. He's not in the top 10. He's not in the top 20 for running backs, and that is because this man hasn't stayed healthy. Hopefully he will. He has not. Last year, he only had 28 attempts, 170 yards, 6.1 yards a carry, did not score a touchdown. I'm sure people very upset with having Nick Chubb on their team and him not staying healthy. I mean, we look at, he played in 2 games last year. So he went from playing in 16 as a rookie in 2018, 6 in regular season, 16, 16, 12, 14, 17, 2. So the good thing is it hasn't been like 2, 17, 4, 16, 10, you know what I mean? Like he's played almost every game in almost every season that he's been in the NFL. Just last season, it didn't work out. So coming off of injury, I'm sure that people are a little suspect of what's going to happen, but hopefully he will be healthy as well. God bless to Nick Chubb and what he's doing out there. Devin Singletary, who started off at Buffalo, he's with the Giants. And then Jalen Warren. Austin Eckler, first season with the Commanders, he's down to 33. Gus Edwards, first season with the Chargers, is at 35. Jonathan Brooks, who's the rookie, Carolina's first running back off the board, Jonathan Brooks, who's a rookie, and he doesn't show up until 34 for running backs average, and overall 89. So that shows how much faith people have in Carolina's offense this season, which is sad. And Tajay Spears in Tennessee, he's at 36, so he's behind Tony Pollard, and so on and so forth. Tyler Algier, he's fallen down here. Atlanta, average draft position overall in the 140s, 48th running back. So we shall see. You know, these guys, Khalil Herbert in Chicago, he's down at 58 for running backs, 181 overall. So, you know, some of these guys have really fallen down. Alexander Madison, A.J. Dillon, guys. Alexander Madison, I was never really high on. Miles Sanders is way low on this list as well. So just to kind of make a note of that as we bring you through the Fantasy Football Power Hour as you get ready for your draft, breaking down these positions, breaking down fantasy football players by position. We started with quarterbacks, then we went to running backs. We're going to head to wide receivers after this fast break inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Let you know where they're being drafted as far as their position. As wide receiver, where are they ranked? Like where are they being drafted essentially? So who's the number 1, 2, and so on and so forth. And then overall, where are they going? And this is taking into account a bunch of different draft platforms and letting you know by position, here's who people are taking in their position, number 1 overall, 2, 10, 20, and here's where they're drafting them overall in the draft itself. So who is that number 1 pick? CMC. We'll find out where the receivers stack up after this fast break inside of the Heritage Hill Studios for the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly powered by the Wildcat Sports Pub, where we'll be drafting this weekend on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the Whole Frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily, and we bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Heritage Hill coming to you in two awesome locations. You will find them out in the country and in the city. The country is on 3149 Sweet Road in Pompey, New York, on their Palladino Farms right there at Heritage Hill Brew House. And you will also find them at their newest location, Heritage Hill North on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, right there at Sweetheart Corners by the Syracuse Hancock International Airport. So for those of you traveling in, you have a great place to go to support local and to get to know our community a little bit better with such a tremendous name in our community like Heritage Hill. And of course, we'll be there tonight. That's where we have our CNS North Stars broadcast monthly, and we'll be there to kick off the 2024 high school football season with the North Stars. So we'll be kicking off their season tonight on site, on location at Heritage Hill North, 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, today, August 21st at 7 p.m. So we look forward to seeing the team out there, the families out there, and all of you out there to support the community and support these kids. As we continue the conversation in the Fantasy Football Power Hour here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, proudly presented by the awesome team at the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, where we will be drafting this weekend on Saturday, August 24th and Sunday, August 25th. Over a decade of having these Central New York leagues, and many of those years spent at the Wildcat Sports Pub. We're looking at average draft position and breaking down by position the situation that you have. So if you're trying to put your draft strategy together, we spoke about quarterbacks before the break as well as running backs, and now we're going to talk about wide receivers. Well, the situation with wide receivers, the one that's being drafted first amongst wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb. Overall draft position, second. So he's right behind Christian McCaffrey overall. Now, what's the situation that's going on with the Cowboys, though? Jerry Jones said, quote, "I don't mean that to be insensitive to our fans or to CD, but we're in good shape there, and we are having promising talks." You say, well, why do you keep talking? Why don't you do something? Again, as in anything, it takes both of you there at the same time. But I believe it's got the proper amount of everything. Emphasis, importance for everybody involved here, and we'll see how it goes. And when I say that, it doesn't sound too promising. The facts are, I believe we'll come together. I don't want to speak for him. That's what I'm trying not to do. But we wouldn't have offered him what we've offered him if we didn't want him to be here. End quote. So I'll take a look at this. Now, he was selected 17th overall in the 2020 NFL Draft. His rookie contract was 4 years worth $14 million, fully guaranteed, with a signing bonus of $7.7 million. Now, looking at what could happen is that his rookie deal was $14 million over 4 years. There's a potential of him making over $30 million per year. Think about that. Let's say that again. 4 years, $14 million total. New contract for CeeDee Lamb, over $30 million a year. So he would make everything he made in 4 years in 1 year, plus at least $16 more million. That's insane. So that's something to monitor, is what is going on with CD, right? What is going to be his future here when it comes to his contract? Now, giving some background on this, he's continuing his holdout for a new contract. And the one thing that I'm that I get really concerned about with these holdouts is when historically, when guys have held out, namely running backs, and I mean, really in general, but when you look at this running back and wide receiver world, guys that hold out typically are more apt to be injured because their body is not going through the same regimen. They are not going through the drills. And there's just something to be said about the fact that they can't simulate a practice, right? When they're not out there practicing with the team and scrimmaging and maybe competing in a preseason game or two and whatnot. And it seems like through history, guys that have held out are more apt to be hurt. And you don't want to see that happen with anybody, including CD. But he's holding out. So where we are right now is that nothing's done. And where we could be is, they're drafting CD high. They're hoping for CD. But when he's going to come back is when he decides to. Now, last season, he led the NFL in receptions with 135. He had 1,749 receiving yards and 12 touchdowns. He also had 2 rushing touchdowns. He was named a first-team All-Pro and was named to his 3rd Pro Bowl. So, September 8th is when the Cowboys start. They'll be on the road against Cleveland Browns. And Tom Brady will be making his broadcasting debut on Fox for some background on that game. CeeDee Lamb in his career since being drafted in the 17th overall, and that happening back in 2020. In his rookie season, he had 74 catches, 935 yards, 5 touchdowns. He followed that up with 79 catches, 1,102 yards, 6 touchdowns. 107 catches, 1,359 yards, 9 touchdowns. 135 catches, 1,049 yards, and 12 touchdowns. What's working in his favor is every season he's been in the NFL, he's added receptions from 74 to 79 to 107 to 135. His numbers receiving-wise have all gone up. His receiving touchdowns have all gone up. Every season he's been in the NFL, he's added receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns. Every one of those categories has gone up from year to year. And in the last 2 seasons, over 100 catches, at least 1,350 yards in both of those seasons, just shy of 10 touchdowns in 2022 and 12 last year. So when you look at him by the numbers, the Cowboys, especially in the balloon market that we live in today, they don't have a lot of wiggle room because CD is not only telling you that he's a 1,000-yard receiver, but he led the NFL, like I said, in receptions last year with 135. And all of those statistical categories that I brought up have gone up. It's not like he went up in receptions but went down in yards, or he went up in touchdowns but went down in receptions. He has gone up in all of these categories and has been not a 1,000-yard receiver, but an 1,100 or better yard receiver in 3 of his 4 seasons in the NFL. The only season he wasn't was his rookie season, where he was 65 yards shy of being a 1,000-yard receiver. He was 1 game, a couple catches. That's it. From being a 1,000-yard receiver all 4 years he's been in the NFL. So I would think the Cowboys are going to have to get this done and get it done fast. But a lot of people in fantasy are believing in him enough to draft him as the number 1 overall receiver in most cases, in other cases Tyreek Hill, and drafting him in the top 3 overall, if not the top 2. So number 1 or number 2 receiver off the board, number 2 or number 3 player off the board overall of all positions included in fantasy football drafts this season. Tyreek Hill has been 1 or 2. From when it comes to receivers, overall he's been around 3rd. Tyreek Hill is another guy, right? Extremely talented. And Tyreek Hill, extremely fast. Well, Tyreek Hill, the fast guy that helped Kansas City get to and win a championship, right? Now they go and draft Xavier Worthy. And I'm not saying he's the same as Tyreek Hill. I don't like saying that. Xavier Worthy. I want him to be the best Xavier Worthy, not another Tyreek. I'm just looking at the parallel of Kansas City can win a championship with the arguable fastest guy in the NFL in Tyreek Hill. Then he goes to Miami, and now you draft Xavier Worthy, who had an extremely fast 40 speed in the NFL Combine, and now he's on your team. So you lose Tyreek Hill, you go a couple seasons without him, and then you bring in Xavier Worthy to help you out from here, and now you got another fast guy here. Ran the 40 with an official time of 4.21 seconds to set a combine record, the fastest ever 40 in the NFL Combine in the history of the NFL Combine. Insane. Absolutely insane. Now, Washington wide receiver John Ross had a 4.22 in 2017. So, the fastest record ever at the Combine, 4.21 40, Xavier Worthy. So you know what Tyreek Hill did in the Kansas City offense. Now you got a speedster wide receiver and Xavier Worthy coming in. And what he's going to do is exciting to think about. Not great for people that don't want to see the Chiefs continue to be a dynasty, but I think the Chiefs are going to continue to push for it and make it really difficult for anybody else to win a Super Bowl. By the way, Tyreek Hill ran a 4.29, so he was 0.08 seconds behind Xavier Worthy. Now, it'd be cool to see them in a foot race, by the way. Since Tyreek does some stuff, it would be great to see the two of them together. Now, Tyreek Hill with the Chiefs, 593 yards as a rookie receiving, and then 1,183, 1,479, 860, 1,276, 1,239. Those were all fantastic, and he's a Super Bowl champion. His 2 seasons in Miami, 119 receptions in both seasons, for those of you that think that Tua is not a good quarterback. 1,700 receiving yards in both of those seasons. 1,710 in his first season in Miami, and in Tyreek's second season, 1,799. 7 touchdowns in 2022 receiving, 13 in 2023. So for all of you that thought that Tyreek Hill was really, really good for Kansas City, who had 4 out of his 6 seasons in Kansas City with 1,000 yards or better, went to Miami and had over 1,700 yards in both of his seasons there. 119 receptions, the most he's ever had. 1,700 yards plus in a season, the most he's ever had. Touchdowns, he was 2 shy. The most he's ever had in a season, in a regular season, it was in 2020, 2021, when he had 15 on 87 catches. So for those of you that think that Tua is not a good quarterback, that's hilarious. And for those of you that think that Tyreek Hill's best years were in Kansas City, that's also hilarious. This man is insane. And he's done it with 2 different quarterbacks, 2 talented quarterbacks. Justin Jefferson, he's still up there. He's being drafted as the third or 5th receiver when I'm looking at different draft platforms here. And overall, he's going 4th. Now, keep in mind, the plan, allegedly, was to never have J.J. McCarthy play. He has a meniscal injury, and he's out for the season. God willing, he'll be well, and he'll be back and ready to go next season. But this gives him a season to learn on the sideline from Sam Darnold and in general. And the plan allegedly was for him to learn on the sideline from Sam Darnold anyways. So with him being out for the season, it kind of is it's never good to have an injury or to have to go through surgery or rehab or anything. But in the case, it couldn't have happened at a better time because he was not going to be playing anyways, and he was going to be on the sideline learning. So, if you're on the sideline healthy or on the sideline injured, obviously you want to be healthy, but if you're going to be on the sideline either way, then might as well get through all this stuff now and be ready for next season than have to go through an injury when you're supposed to be playing. So if there's ever a time to have an injury, JJ, good to go through all this and the rehab and get back and ready to go in a season where he was allegedly not going to be out there outside of injury to Sam Darnold. So good for him to be able to learn. Sam Darnold, people are still high on this. Remember, the former Jets quarterback, people are high on him enough to keep Justin Jefferson as one of the top 3 receivers taken. Now, some people disagree and they put Jamar Chase above this. Last year, it was Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. Now, Justin Jefferson is average going wide receiver, going 3rd as a wide receiver, 4th overall. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going 4th as a wide receiver, 8th overall. Jamar Chase is going 5th amongst wide receivers in fantasy drafts and 7th overall. Then A.J. Brown, then Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua going over Cooper Kupp, who's been injured in recent history, and the first rookie to go off the board at wide receiver this season of the 2024 draft class is, you guessed it, Marvin Harrison Mother freaking Jr. Now, Marvin Harrison Sr. played at Syracuse, and Marvin Harrison Sr. was one of the best receivers ever in the NFL, and his link up between himself and Peyton Manning with the Colts was extremely fun to watch for those of you that are Syracuse fans, and those of you that are Colts fans, and those of you that just enjoy really good football play. Marvin Harrison Jr. is paving his own path and telling his own story as an Arizona Cardinal. Now, some people are concerned that Kyler Murray is his quarterback. Kyler Murray didn't play the first, 10 weeks of last season, and Kyler Murray and this offense have struggled, right? They had DeAndre Hopkins for a hot minute. He's in Tennessee now. So Marvin Harrison Jr., he cracks the top 10, going as the 9th wide receiver in fantasy drafts and 17th player overall. So he's in the top 20 of fantasy football drafts this season on average. That's how high people are on Marvin Harrison Jr., who's above Devontae Adams, who's above Deebo Samuel, and other guys that are on this list like Mike Evans. Now, Drake London, he's in the top 20 overall. And he's the 12th receiver that's being taken. Drake London has not had a good go at it, nor has Kyle Pitts. Kirk Cousins, there's faith in him. So to the people that think that Kirk Cousins is an average quarterback, my question back to you would be, then why are people high on this offense? And why are people high on Drake London enough to draft him in the top 20? And so if you're in a 10-team snake draft league that goes 1 to 10, 10 to 1, that means that this dude is going within those first 2 rounds when we speak on Drake London. So there's something to be said about that. Nico Collins is going 13th among wide receivers, 29th overall. Chris Olave, who I told you would be the New Orleans #1 wide receiver as a rookie in his sophomore season, he's going 14th amongst receivers and in the top 25 overall. Then we have Mike Evans. Brandon Ayuk, for those of you that think that he's a top 5 receiver in the NFL, he's going 16th among the receivers, 34th overall. I'm not as high on Brandon Ayuk as some people are. DK Metcalf, Cooper Kupp, these guys have dipped down. 17th for DK amongst wide receivers, 41 overall. Cooper Kupp, 18 among wide receivers, 38th overall. Diggs, with his first season in Houston, people are taking him as the 21st best wide receiver. Below Nico Collins, who's now his teammate. And they are taking him 39th overall. Michael Pittman Jr., who's the #1 guy with Indy, he's being 22 amongst wide receivers, 33 overall. Devontae Smith has fallen down here. A.J. Brown in that top tier. Devontae falling to 23 amongst receivers, 46th overall. Malik Neighbors, the second rookie to make the top 25 of receivers taken. He's 24th amongst wide receivers. His average draft position is in the late 3rd to 4th round, depending on how many teams you have in your league. 44th he's going. George Pickens, is it going to be Russell Wilson? Is it going to be Justin Fields? I think it's going to be Justin Fields. I don't even think it's close, in my opinion. But George Pickens, he's 25th amongst receivers, 53rd overall. Zay Flowers, who had some drops, some sad drops last season, but also a good rookie season, 27th amongst receivers, 56th overall. So that's a big drop there. Tank Dell, he's fallen down this list as well, and obviously he's gone through some stuff off the field, but hopefully things will be good for him. Terry McLaurin with a new quarterback and Jaden Daniels, he doesn't show up until 30 for wide receivers, 67th overall. Jacksonville's first receiver that shows up on the list is Christian Kirk, 31st amongst receivers, 70 overall. Kelvin Ridley, former Jaguar, former Falcon before that, he is 34th amongst receivers, 76th overall in Tennessee. Xavier Worthy, who I made mention of, Tyreek Hill, as a top 2 pick overall to some people, and in the top 2 amongst receivers. Xavier Worthy, who runs a faster 40 in his rookie season with Kansas City, he comes in 37th best amongst wide receivers drafted, and overall his average draft position is in the 80s, 83. I think some people are going to go a little bit higher on him. Some people might forget about him, go a little bit lower. He's below Rashee Rice, who's had some off-the-field problems, which, is sad, and God willing, he'll figure that out. I covered him in my coverage of SMU over the years here. Khalil Shakir for Buffalo. I want to take a look at, so Keon Coleman is the first Buffalo receiver. So to my Buffalo fans that are watching and listening, I know you're not going to be happy to hear this. Keon Coleman, or maybe you are because you're going to draft a bunch of Buffalo players. Maybe you're that guy or girl that drafts your favorite team when you go into your fantasy drafts. What you have to be very careful of, you can't be the homer. You can't do the homer pick. Number one, for bye weeks. And number two, because, if you throw all your eggs in the basket of your favorite team, you might be shying away from those that are really talented that you should be drafting. And I did something back in the day where I wouldn't draft certain players because they were on a team that I wasn't fond of. And I decided to break that rule, draft that team, and not make it about personally who I like and don't like, and just draft the best players out there. And that was the first championship I won in fantasy. So don't make it personal, folks. Go, and I'm not saying personal like I don't like that person. I'm saying if I'm a fan of the Jaguars and I don't like the Patriots, and so I see Tom Brady, I'm like, oh, I'm never going to draft Tom Brady. And then you go up against Tom Brady in fantasy and lose a bunch of games. And if I had Tom Brady, could have won a championship. Don't make it about that. Draft the best players available. Take the personal, who your favorite team is, what teams you don't like. Take that out of it. Because when I did that, I literally won a championship the first year that I said, okay, I'm not drafting and excluding anybody. If you're talented, you're coming on my team. And Antonio Brown, Pittsburgh Steeler at the time, I wasn't drafting Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's not a knock to Pittsburgh. There was some rivalry when Jacksonville back in the day, there was back and forth with Dallas. There was back and forth. And so I'm not a Steelers fan. I'm a Jaguars fan. Second team is the Cowboys. So it was hard for me to draft a Steeler. Then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that personal. These are the teams I like, and these are the teams I root for, and Pittsburgh's been against us. No, I said, I'm going to draft the best players available. I drafted Antonio Brown, and I won a championship. So there you go. Now, Keon Coleman's the first Bill to show up on the list of wide receivers. He's showing up in drafts at 44 amongst receivers, the rookie out of Florida State, 105 overall. So the Buffalo Bills do not have a receiver going arguably in the first 3 to 4 rounds. Well, I should say overall 44 amongst receiver. So 105 overall, which means that Keon Coleman is not going until the 9th or 10th round on average in drafts. So literally the middle of our draft, we have 18 rounds. The middle of the draft is when the first Buffalo Bills wide receiver is coming off the board. Khalil Shakir isn't going until 126 overall on average, and he makes the top 50 at 50 for wide receivers. So not a ton of faith. A lot of faith in Josh Allen, not a lot of faith in the guys he's throwing to. I always find that interesting, where like Kirk Cousins, people didn't regard him as high in Minnesota at quarterback, but they had Justin Jefferson, number 1, and he throws to him. Then you got Josh Allen this year, who people consider the number 1 or 2 quarterback to take off the board. And the first two receivers for Buffalo are in the hundreds average. So you're like, all right, Josh Allen could literally throw to a wall and the wall would catch it because we're not regarding the receivers very high in our draft, but we think that he's going to be great. And I always find that interesting. Xavier Legette, who's a rookie, Carolina Panthers, the first Carolina Panther wide receiver on the list comes in at 61 amongst receivers, 164 overall in Adam Thielen. Xavier Legette's a rookie. He comes in second, 64th amongst receivers, 150 overall, which is really sad. Ricky Pearsall, who San Fran got in the first round, he comes in at 69 amongst receivers, 173 overall. I think Anthony Campbell might be going after him as a San Fran fan. Sorry, Anthony, if I outed that. My apologies on that. Jermaine Burton, who's a rookie out of Alabama, I got some of his rookie cards. He checks in for the Bengals, 74th amongst receivers, 196th overall. Which means if you're in a 10-team league and you got 18 rounds, he's not getting drafted. Jermaine Burton. So he's a little one to kind of take a look at here. Rashad Bateman in Baltimore has fallen into the 200s. Marvin Mims Jr., Denver, was a rookie last year. He's fallen into the 200s. Wendell Robinson has fallen into the 200s with the Giants. Just looking at some of these names. Odell Beckham's in Miami. He's in the 270s. Zay Jones in Arizona, leaving Jacksonville. He's in the 270s overall. Darius Slayton, who is supposed to be the number one guy for the Giants over the last year or two, has fallen to average draft position of 295 overall. Crazy. Elijah Moore, who started with the Jets and is now in Cleveland, he has an average draft position of 289, regarded as the 101st best wide receiver out there. That's crazy. Treylon Burks, Tennessee let go of A.J. Brown, seemingly because they didn't want to pay him, and then they went and found somebody who maybe they thought would be like him or just as good as him. They got Treylon Burks. Well, guess what fans think in fantasy football of Treylon Burks? They're drafting him as the 107th best receiver, and his average draft position is 317. 317 overall. That's crazy. So that's like, okay, if you have a 16-team league and you draft 18 rounds, he's not getting drafted. Yet he was a top 10 pick in the actual NFL draft. Van Jefferson is down on this. Jonathan Mingo, who was drafted recently by Carolina, he's down here. Josh Reynolds and Van Jefferson both spent time with the Rams. Van is at Pitt. Reynolds is with Denver now. So crazy. Alan Lazard, who was liked by Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay and came over with Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, he is considered the 115th best receiver, even though Aaron Rodgers likes him. And average draft position overall, 346. Y'all got no faith in him. That's a free agent. That's a free agent of a free agent of a free agent. Way, way, way down the list. So for those of you tuning in, the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, helping you with your draft by telling you where players are ranked by position and where they're ranked overall in average draft position. I shouldn't say ranking, but average draft position, where they're going overall for their position specific and where they're going overall in the draft. Like, for example, CeeDee Lamb is going as the first wide receiver off the board, second overall. So that means Christian McCaffrey typically going first, then CeeDee Lamb, but CeeDee Lamb being the first receiver off the board. Tight end wise, we're going to hit this after the fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Where are the tight ends now? Are some of those familiar names still in the top 10? Did somebody crack the top 10 who fell out of favor with a lot of people, but not with me? Where are the rookies at? What's going on? Are some guys having resurgence? A lot to talk about with the tight ends in the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, where we'll be drafting this weekend and where we've drafted for years. Wake Up Call Fantasy Football comes to the Wildcat in Central New York, and that'll be this Saturday, August 24th and Sunday, August 25th. We'll be back inside of the Heritage Hill Studios right after this, where sports meets life. Central New Yorkers, you can now enjoy the tastes of Heritage Hill award-winning craft beers, seltzers, and a full bar at 3 locations. Spend your weekends at their beautiful location in Pompey with its amazing views, sunsets, family, and pet-friendly facilities, as well as extensive private event areas. Get their taps, tonics, and tastes in their brand new North Syracuse location at Sweetheart Corner in North Syracuse, New York. When flying in and out of Syracuse Hancock International Airport, make sure to visit their Palladino Farms location. At Heritage Hill, they believe in supporting our community and are excited to now meet you where you're at and where you're going with their local farm-raised tastes. Find out more information at heritagehillbrewery.com. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Happy to be here with you every single, I got a song that I love. It's called God Did, and it's playing on my phone here in the studio. So Facebook, YouTube, don't get mad at it. Ain't nobody trying to steal no copyrights. So just playing this music here because I love the song. So with that being said, welcome back here to the Heritage Hill Studios. Heritage Hill coming to you in the country at the Brew House on Palladino Farms. You will find them by going to 3149 Sweet Road in Pompey, New York. And of course, you'll also find them at their newest location, which is on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse. And that is at Sweetheart Corners, right by the Syracuse Hancock International Airport. And we will be there tonight to kick off the CNS North Stars football season with the coaching staff as well as the student athletes, the families, and hopefully all of you. Tonight, August 21st at 7 p.m. We look forward to seeing you out there. So with that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life, we're speaking inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour. Not one of, not a, but the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, where we draft every single season. We'll be drafting this weekend with people that we've been with for a long time, some of them like 12 years, and very excited for that. We're going to be drafting this Saturday, August 24th, and Sunday, August 25th, and we look forward to seeing you there. With that being said, we are looking at each position, and I'm letting you know where people are being taken overall by position, where are these players being taken overall, as well as inside of their position. So who's considered the number one tight end, 2, 10, 15, and where are they being taken in the draft overall? So Travis Kelce, he's the number one tight end coming off the board. No surprise here. Overall, he's being taken 28th, which means he's coming in some leagues toward the end of your second round, beginning of your third round. So there's always someone that takes a tight end really, really early, like somewhere in the first round, like the 7th or 8th pick of the first round, or in the second round, somebody goes after the Travis Kelce's of the world and the Mark Andrews and whatnot. Kelce's considered the best amongst a bunch of different platforms here, considered the best tight end going off the board first for tight ends, 28th overall for all players in the draft. And second is Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta. So I have his rookie sweater. So if you're looking for Sam Laporta, it's a good thing that I got the rookie sweaters of players that are doing really well with fantasy football owners that are deciding, hey, these guys I'm holding in high esteem. Achane, Miami running back in his second season. Laporta, tight end of the Lions in his second season, Sam Laporta, considered the second best tight end. And some people drafting him first above Travis Kelce. Sam Laporta had himself a season. I was high on Sam Laporta as a rookie last year, and I'm going to stick with it this year. Very excited. As a rookie, he had 86 catches, 889 yards, and 10 touchdowns in a Jared Goff-led offense in Detroit. Good stuff from Sam Laporta. And Trey McBride, Arizona, this is a guy who I think is not really on everybody's radar because, again, he's in Arizona. He's been there for 2 years. His first season as a rookie, 29 catches, 265 yards. Wasn't, a main feature, had 1 touchdown. Last season, 81 catches. He went from 29 to 81. 81 catches, 825 yards, 3 touchdowns. Now, the touchdown's not that high, but to be a tight end and to have over 800 yards and over 80 catches is huge for a receiver. So Trey McBride has shot up this list here. I don't know if I agree necessarily with some of this, but Mark Andrews is considered the 4th best. So overall, by what I'm looking at right now, average draft position, Travis Kelce's going in the late 2nd round, early 3rd round. Same for Laporta. Trey McBride's going in the late 4th round, 5th round. Mark Andrews is going in your 5th round, late 4th round. So we're looking at 2nd, 3rd round for which I guess I'm not surprised when it comes to Travis Kelce and Sam Laporta shooting up the list. That's huge. Trey McBride going above Mark Andrews. That's another thing here because Marky Andrews, let's take a look at him. Mark Andrews been in the league since 2018. He's had 6 seasons in the league, 552 yards, 3 touchdowns, 852, 10 touchdowns, 701, 7 touchdowns, 1361, 1,361 yards, 9 touchdowns, 847, 5, 544, 6. So for a tight end, this dude has had 5 or more touchdowns in 5 of his 6 seasons. The only one he didn't was his rookie season in 2018-19 where he had 3 receiving touchdowns. So that's something to be noted. Being a 1,300-plus yard receiver as a tight end just a few seasons ago in 2021-22 is huge. Having 847 yards 2 seasons ago is big. Last year he had 544 yards, but I want to go back to last year for Mark Andrews and take a look at this. Out of Oklahoma, he was drafted in 2018 by Baltimore, pick 86 in the 3rd round, pick 86 overall. Last year, he only played in 10 games. It was the least amount of games he's ever played in a season. As a rookie, he played in 16, then he played in 15, 14, 17 in 2021, which is the most he's ever played in, and the most catches he's ever had, 107, and the most yards, 1,361. He played in 15 in 2022-23, had 73 catches that year, only played in 10 games last year, only had 45 catches. So when you take a look at this, and I want to put this kind of side by side here, for those of you that think that Lamar Jackson only runs and doesn't get the ball out there, I want to take a look at his time with Lamar. So Lamar has been in the league since 2018. It's the same amount of time that Mark Andrews has been in the league. Believe it or not, and I'm looking at this going, that doesn't seem right. I thought that they were, maybe a year off or something. But Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews were drafted in the same year by the Baltimore Ravens. So we're not looking at these numbers going pre-Lamar and then with Lamar. No. Lamar has been with Mark Andrews the whole time that Mark Andrews has been in the NFL, which means his 1,300-yard season with Lamar. Having over 60 catches in 3 of those 6 seasons with Lamar. He was just injured last year, so he missed 7 games. And you look at what his numbers were, Mark Andrews, 45 catches, 544 yards, 6 touchdowns, but he missed 7 games. So could we arguably say that he would have gotten to 12, 13 touchdowns? That He could have gotten to 1,000 yards again, potentially, but he's got to stay healthy. So I think he's a top 2 guy, sometimes a number 1 guy of the past couple of years, but he's got to stay healthy. So, and I think some people still think Lamar is just going to run around and not throw the ball. So Mark Andrews dips a little bit here. Dalton Kincaid is behind that. Kincaid shot up this thing, right? Buffalo, 5th overall tight end being taken and 51st overall, which means that he's going in a 10-team league. He's going just outside of the 5th round. And in a league that has 12, 14, 16 teams, he's going a little bit earlier, 51st overall. George Kittle is going after that. Now, Kittle is one of those guys that was like right there with Kelsey. There were times where he was regarded as one of the top 2, top 3. But George Kittle, the question was, is this guy going to stay healthy? But let's look at him by the numbers, shall we? He came in 2017, a year before Mark Andrews. As a rookie, 515 yards, 2 touchdowns. He is so in his 7 seasons in the NFL, he has 3 of those seasons, almost half the time, he's had 1,000 yards, including last season. So when you look at George Kittle, and some people might have him dip down a little bit, this guy has been a 1,000-yard receiver as a tight end in 3 of 7 seasons in the NFL. He did it in back-to-back years in 2018-19 and 2019-20 with 1377, 5 touchdowns, and 1053, 5 touchdowns, respectively. The last season that he had 1,000 yards was last season. 1,020, 6 touchdowns last year. It's his second most touchdowns to only the season before, where in 2022-23, he had 11 touchdowns and 765 yards. So in his last 2 seasons, he's had his record most touchdowns in a season, and in his last 2 seasons, he's gotten back to 1,000 yards, which he did last year. So don't count out George Kittle. I've had him dip on my list a little bit, and now I'm looking at these numbers with you going, maybe I should regard him a little bit higher as I'm telling you to. Right? A lot of us are good at giving advice, not taking our own advice. Well, I'm going to take it and give it when it comes to George Kittle. Kyle Pitts, taking a look at Kyle Pitts and where he's at right now. Again, this is a guy who, go Gators, has been underutilized in his time in the NFL. He's only been in the NFL for 3 years. Now, in his rookie season, he had 1,000 yards, 1,026, 68 catches, only 1 touchdown. So targeting him in the end zone, right? End zone, red zone. 2022-23, 356 yards, 2 touchdowns. Last year, 667 yards, 3 touchdowns. He has 6 touchdowns in 3 years. That is underutilizing Kyle Pitts. Let's take a look at what Kyle Pitts had collegiately, statistically, right? So he's had 6 touchdowns in 3 years. Kyle Pitts, in 3 years, so he's been 3 years in the NFL, 6 touchdowns. 3 years with the Gators. Dude had 6 touchdowns in 2 seasons, not 3. In 3 years with the Gators, Kyle Pitts had 18 receiving touchdowns, 12 in 1 year. So in his final collegiate season in 2020, he had 12, in the COVID year, had 12 receiving touchdowns. That's double the amount of receiving touchdowns he's had in the NFL in 3 years. So he had 12 in his last season with the Gators. He has 6 in 3 seasons combined with Atlanta. And hopefully Kirk Cousins will change that. Somebody who shot up the list, who I made mention of before the break, that I was high on when he came in as a rookie, and I've given respect to. He dipped a little bit, but I never stopped believing in him. Then I got to meet him personally, and we got to talk about football, but more importantly, we got to talk about God and faith. And even when we didn't do interviews, shake hands and give a hug. And that's the man, Evan Engram, who I got a lot of respect for. Evan Engram's coming off the board as the 8th best tight end. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I understand people got a lot of faith in Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. So I see that in Brock Purdy. Some people, not a ton of faith in Trevor Lawrence, or less than they have in other teams. Now, Evan Engram, 8th tight end, 74th overall, right? So if you're in let's just put as an example that you're in a league that's got 14 teams, right? So if you got 14 teams in a league, then you're going to be in the 5th round, you'll be at your 70th pick, right? So Evan Engram's going 74th. So in a 14-team league, he's going in the 6th round, which is not bad. Not bad at all. And I like that he's dipping a little bit here. I know the people that I've been drafting with for a long time in Central New York. I'm not going to say their names, but I got a feeling, and they know who they are, that they're going to try and take Evan Engram before I get to him. And hopefully that doesn't happen. Evan Engram has not only been a good tight end for the Jaguars, he's been somebody that Trevor Lawrence trusts down the stretch. You look to where a quarterback throws to when a quarterback is trying to win a game. And Evan Engram was the guy that he consistently went to. And he had his most receptions ever in his career in the NFL that started in 2017. So he was with the Giants for 5 seasons, and he's with the Jaguars for 2. In the 2 seasons he's been in Jacksonville, those are the 2 seasons where he's had his most receptions. So 5 seasons with the Giants, he has more receptions with the Jaguars in a season. He set a record with the most he ever had, 73 in 2022-23. Then he had 114 last season. 766 yards were his most yards ever, more than anything he ever did in a season with the Giants. Then last year he topped that just shy of 1,000 with 963. He had 6 touchdowns as a rookie with the Giants, and he's had 4 each of the 2 seasons with Jacksonville. So Evan Engram, a big-time target, getting his best numbers in receptions and his best numbers in receiving yards as a Jaguar in the 2 seasons here. So for those of you that don't think Trevor Lawrence is that good and think that Evan Engram's washed up, you wrong. David Njoku, Cleveland, he's a guy that came out of Miami and people forgot about him. I was high on David Njoku when he came out, and he kind of fell off the mat, right? Now, David Njoku, there was a time where they thought maybe the Browns are going to get rid of him. And he's been a Brown since 2017, been in the league as long as Evan Engram. And we look at him by the numbers. His 2 best seasons in receptions, the last 2 seasons, 58 and then 81 last season. His best receiving yard season ever, last season, 882. Which his best season before that was his 2nd season in the NFL, 2018-19, where he had 639. Most touchdowns in a season, last season, of his 7. 6 touchdowns last season. So he's coming off a season with his most receptions, his most yards, and his most touchdowns. And all of that is happening 7 years in. So we talk about Kyle Pitts not being used that much. Well, here's David Njoku finally getting used. So maybe you got to look to that. Now, Deshaun Watson is the quarterback. And Deshaun Watson, he's being backed up by Jameis Winston now, which is kind of ironic because they both play in the ACC. Deshaun for Clemson and Jameis for Florida State. Not only that, but going from playing, for rival, schools trying to win that conference and in the same division at the time, both in the Atlantic Division when the ACC had the Atlantic and Coastal divisions, which they no longer have divisions. So not only that, but both of them got in trouble off the field as professionals. Now, looking at Deshaun Watson, he has not played in a lot of games. He's only played in 12 games as a Cleveland Brown. Got a fully guaranteed $200+ million contract, which totally screwed up the quarterback market. He's only played in 12 games as a Brown. Played in 6, 2022-23. Played in 6 in 2023-24. So, but those are the 2 best seasons for David Njoku. And last season, Njoku had 5 quarterbacks throwing to him, which is insane. If we look at last season statistically for the Cleveland Browns, let's bring this up here. They had Joe Flacco, Deshaun Watson, PJ Walker, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and Jeff Driscoll. They had 5. I think it's the first time that I know of that a team made the playoffs in a season where they had 5 different starters at quarterback. So I think Driscoll started. What are you playing? 1 game? So, let me see here. I think he started in that game. Coming out of Louisiana Tech. Drafted in 2016 in the 6th round, 207 overall by the 49ers. Yeah, in the Cincinnati game where they lost 31-14. I think he was the starter. Let me see here. Yeah, he was. So they had 5 starters. I've never seen an NFL team in the history of me covering the NFL, which has been almost 21 years. I have never seen, and following the NFL since I was 12? I have never seen a team make the playoffs in a season where they had 5 starters at quarterback. But last year, Cleveland did it. Now, they got blown out by Houston, but they still made it. Jake Ferguson, 10th overall tight end being taken on average between 9 and 11. And for Dallas, and he is 88th overall. So that means in a 10-team league, he's being taken in the 9th round. And then in other rounds, or in other leagues that have more teams, he's being taken in the 8th round. So that's kind of right by the middle. Jake Ferguson might be a name. I don't think a lot of smart people that are drafted are going to forget his name, but I didn't like that they got rid of Dalton Schultz. In 2 seasons with the Cowboys, though, Jake Ferguson went from 19 catches, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, to 71 catches, 761 yards, and 5 touchdowns. 2 seasons in the NFL, no sophomore slump to him. He became the dominant tight end last season, had over 70 catches, over 760 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So, yeah, if Dak's going to keep doing what he's doing, which is go to him, then you're going to be in good shape picking him up as your tight end. Brock Bowers is the first rookie to make the list here, going as the 11th best tight end and going 95th overall amongst all positions. Brock Bowers, who I have his college card in good shape. I might send it to be graded. I'm a big fan of Brock Bowers. Been a fan of Brock Bowers for a couple seasons here. The Georgia product, who was picked in the 1st round of this year's draft, 13th overall by the Raiders. Brock Bowers, looking at his collegiate stats and what he did with Georgia, Brock comes into the Vegas Raiders. He comes in with 4 seasons in Georgia. Well, no, not 4 seasons in Georgia. 3 seasons in Georgia. I don't know why that came up. He's not playing this season. But 3 seasons in Georgia, these are his numbers. 15 games, and 10 games in 2023. He had 56, 63, and 56 catches. 882, 942, and 714 yards, 13 touchdowns, 7 and 6. So he ends his collegiate time as a tight end in 3 seasons, 2,538 receiving yards, 175 catches, and 26 touchdowns. He also ran the ball for 5 touchdowns. He's a big old dude. Ran the ball for 5 touchdowns. So he ends his collegiate career with 31 touchdowns in 3 seasons, which averages 10 touchdowns a year. So, Brocky Bowers, excited to see Gardner Minshew the second, maybe Aiden O'Connell. Gardner's the starter for week 1. We'll see how that goes. Gardner a lot better than people give him credit for, and I think Aiden is too. So, Brock Bowers excited to see that. Some people might pick him up as their number 1 in deep leagues or their number 2 tight end. Some of you might sleep on Brock and forget about it because he's a rookie. So don't do that. Dallas Goedert, he's a guy that I would think would be in your top 5, top 6. But let's look at Dallas Goedert by the numbers recently here. Goddard has been in the league longer than I thought he was, 2018. And so he's been 6 seasons, all with the Eagles. His best season receiving was 830 yard-wise. Was 830 in 2021-22. His most receptions he's ever had was last year with 59, which beat out his second season of 58. His most touchdowns in a season were in that season where he had 58, his second season in the NFL, 2019-20, where he had 5 touchdowns. Last year, 59 catches, 592 yards, and 3 touchdowns Dallas Goedert had. So looking at Goedert as far as health-wise, God willing, he'll be well. He comes from South Dakota State. He played in 14 games last season. He played in 16 as a rookie, 16, and keep in mind that with some of these guys that have been in the league for a bunch of years, there was only 16 regular season games, and they bumped it up to 17. So 16 was playing a full regular season. He played 16, 15, 11, 15, 12, and 14. So his last couple seasons here, he's missed a few games. Missed 5 in 2022-23 and missed 3 last year. So because the NFL went to 17 regular season games, that happened, let's see here, in 2021. Yeah, so they did it in 2021, which means that he missed 2 in 2021, then he missed 5, then he missed 3. So he hasn't played a full 17 games ever since the rule was gone to a 17th game. So that hasn't happened. Since the 2002 season, the league, taking a look at this right here, I'm just looking at some information, some background information. So yeah, so we've gone, I thought it was only a couple of years with 17 games instead of 16, but it's been 3 seasons. This will be the 4th season that there's 18 weeks and 17 regular season games for each team with 1 bye week. College is having 2 to 3 bye weeks. I think it's time the NFL maybe has 2 bye weeks for teams. Just my thought. It would extend the season even more, but we'll see. So Dallas Goedert, yeah. So his health has been an issue, probably why he dips here to the 12th best tight end and 111th overall in draft positioning here. TJ Hawkinson, since going to Minnesota, I think he's been doing well here, but how is he going to do with Sam Darnold is the question without Kirk Cousins. With Kirk Cousins last year, he had his best season ever by far. His best season reception-wise, TJ Hawkinson, he spent 4 years with Detroit, stayed in the NFC North, and went to the Vikings. We see a lot of in-division moves that happen with rivals here, and looking at his best season that he ever had in receptions before last season, it was 67 in 2020-2021, the COVID year with Detroit. He had 67 receptions in his second season in the NFL. Last year, he rose that to almost 30 more. His best season reception-wise is last season with the Vikings, Kirk Cousins with the quarterback, 95 receptions. His best receiving season, yards-wise, before last season was also his second season with Detroit, 723. Last year, he had 960. His most touchdowns in a season, his second season with Detroit, 6. And his second season with Minnesota, 5. So he had his best season reception-wise and yard-wise and almost tied his touchdown-wise last year with the Vikings. But now he's with Sam Darnold, so we'll see. Is he going to be a focal point of the offense still when he was just shy of being a 1,000-yard receiver as a tight end last year? So he could be a sneaky, almost a sleeper, as some people might be a little bit lower on Hawkinson with Sam Darnold being the quarterback. 13th tight end taken off the board and 119th overall. Cole Kmet in Chicago, he's 14th. Then Schultz is 15th. Freiermuth, who a lot of people continue to disrespect, and I'm cool with that. I usually pick him up as my second guy. He's not as consistent as I want him to be, but the Muth has played 3 seasons with the Steelers, and 2021 was his first, 2021-22. This is how his receptions go. 60, 63, 32. Last year was a bad year, though. Quarterback-wise, and Kenny Pickett didn't work out. 497, 732, 308, and then 7 touchdowns as a rookie, then 2, then 2. So we'll see if Justin Fields can improve that for the Muth. So I understand why people might go lower on him. Isaiah Likely, is likely and arguably the best backup tight end you're going to find on any team in the NFL. Whenever he's had to step in for Mark Andrews, he's done a tremendous job. So I think that should not go understated at all. Hunter Henry in New England is 19th among tight ends and 170 average draft position overall. Taysom Hill, who's a jack of all trades, considered the 22nd best tight end and 155th overall. Hopefully, where you're drafting has him as a tight end and not a quarterback. Once they switched that on ESPN, that did a service to a lot of us. Juwan Johnson, we'll see. I mean, this dude has had moments of bliss in fantasy, but it's been wildly inconsistent because he's played with a lot of different quarterbacks and they haven't always targeted him. Last year, 37 catches, 368 yards, and 4 touchdowns in Derek Carr's first season, throwing to him as the Saints quarterback. The season before that, he had 42 catches, which was his best ever, 508 yards, which was his best ever, and 7 touchdowns, which was his best ever. 4 seasons, with the Saints, but really wasn't utilized until 2021-22. In the COVID year, we didn't see much of him. 4 catches, 39 yards. So he's a question mark. Is Derek Carr going to continue to go to him? Is he going to go to Taysom Hill? Where's he going to go? That's kind of a loaded question. Dawson Knox in Buffalo has fallen way down. Dalton Kincaid, that's because he had a good rookie season for Kincaid. Knox, 38th among tight end, knocked down by Kincaid coming in. 288th overall draft position, which is, that means he's not getting drafted in some of the leagues that I'm in. Now, Dawson Knox, by the numbers, Knox came into the league in 2019. Another guy that I thought came in later than he did. Came in 2019. Last year, we'll fast forward to last year, 22 catches, 186 yards, only 2 touchdowns. His best season was pre-Kincaid, 2021-22, where he had his most catches, 49, his most yards, 587, and his most touchdowns. He had 9 touchdowns that year. He had 9 touchdowns. So, to put it into perspective here, Dalton Kincaid, by the numbers last year, 73 catches, 673 yards. He only had 2 touchdowns. But 73 catches to Dawson Knox's 22 catches. And Dawson Knox played in 13 games last year. So, he didn't play in 4 regular season games, but he played in 13 of those and not targeted a lot. Played in 15, 12, 15, 15, 13. I think he might be let go by Buffalo. That's unfortunately something to watch, and I hope he lands somewhere great, God willing. Now, Michael Mayer, it's a tough break. Michael Mayer here, taking a look at his situation, because the Raiders decided to go out there and pick up Brock Bowers. Michael Mayer, who's only been in the league for a little while here, Michael Mayer was drafted right before they went out and drafted Brock Bowers. Michael Mayer was drafted in 2023. Brock was drafted this year. Mayer is a rookie, 27 catches, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he might be obsolete. Or if people can on Brock Bowers, it might help out Michael Mayer, because the current situation for the Raiders depth chart wise puts us in a place where the Raiders overall, looking at their depth chart, they have Devontae Adams, who is their number 1. They have Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, who I also have his rookie sweater card. And then they got a bunch of non-household names. And Trey Tucker's not a household name. Jacoby Myers to some people might not be. So they really have like one guy, and Jacoby can help them as a possession guy. Did some good things with New England before coming over to the Raiders. So Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer, they're both tight ends, but because of the wide receiver room, they can end up being in the top 3 targets in the receiving corps for Gardner Minshew and or Aiden O'Connell. It could be Devontae, Brock, and Michael. So don't sleep on Michael. He might be your backup that you pick up. I wouldn't take Brock and Michael because I don't think that's really going to help you out. But I think taking Michael, especially in a deep league, he's considered the 40th best tight end. Average draft position overall is 297. So something to look at there, but don't necessarily count him out just because of their receiving core. Kicker-wise, Justin Tucker, my favorite kicker, no surprise. Baltimore, Harrison Butker, Kansas City, second here. If you're taking these kickers, I have a rule in my leagues. The last few rounds are kickers and defense special team because we don't do individual defensive player or IDP. So defense and special team unit and your kicker, right? Those should be the last 2 rounds. We have 18 rounds. That should be round 17 and 18. You want to take 2 kickers, between 16 and 18. You want to take a couple defenses between maybe 15, 16, and 18 when it comes to round. If you take a kicker or a defense before the last couple rounds, then there's a rule that you have to buy everybody a drink. So Justin Tucker, the best. People want to take him early, and Harrison Butker. I don't know why you want to take and it's no offense to kickers. I don't know why you would draft them in the 9th or 10th round when other people are getting receivers and running backs, but hey, do you, boo. So Brandon Aubrey, the new Dallas kicker, he shot up the list here. He's the 3rd kicker coming off the board. Young Ho Koo, one of my favorite names in the NFL. Young Ho going as the 4th best kicker. Jake Elliott, and he's from Atlanta. Jake Elliott out of Philly is going 5th. Evan McPherson, go Gators. 6th kicker coming off the Bengals kicker. Kaimi Fairbairn is the 7th one coming off. He's with Houston. Jake Moody for San Fran is the 8th. Tyler Bass, Buffalo, a little surprised here. He's going 9th. Jason Sanders, Miami's going 10th. Cameron Dicker, Chargers, going 11th. Jason Myers never worked out with Jacksonville. I had this conversation with Isaac yesterday. He missed 3 field goals indoors on the road against Indy in the regulation time and in overtime. Missed 3 total, any of them to win the game. And then he went to Seattle, and he's stuck on there. So good for Seattle, I guess. 12th kicker being taken. And then Dustin Hopkins, Cleveland, 13th. Greg Zuerlein, been around forever. Long leg Zuerlein here. The Jets, and he's 14th overall. Raiders, Daniel Carlson is 15th, followed by Chicago's Cairo Santos, Indy's Matt Gay, Pitt's Chris Boswell, Detroit's Jake Bates, Blake Group for New Orleans, new name there, and then so on and so forth. Matt Prater's still around in Arizona, 21st best coming off. Cam Little was drafted by the Jaguars. They believe in their pick enough that they brought in Riley Patterson after they had Brandon McManus for a hot second, brought him in for a year. Then Cam Little, they brought him in for a year. I got rid of Riley Patterson, who did a great job. And then they brought back Riley Patterson in the offseason after drafting Cam Little. Then let Riley go. Riley ends up with the Washington Commanders most recently. And Cam Little, who was drafted in 2024 by the Jaguars in the 6th round, picked 212 overall. The rookie out of Arkansas, they believe in the dude, and he's their kicker. He's considered the 24th best out of 32 NFL teams. So there you go on that. Defense and special teams wise, the best defense going into the season, like last season, San Fran. Baltimore, who people knee-jerk usually pick Baltimore or Pittsburgh because historically they've been good. Baltimore's back up the list now. They're 2. Dallas is 3. The Jets are 4. A little surprising there that Dallas is above the Jets. They got to figure out the contract with Micah Parsons. Cleveland, whose defense has gotten better, they're 5. Kansas City, 6. Atypical right here because Kansas City was scoring but not necessarily stopping people. Buffalo, 7. Pittsburgh, 8. Philly, 9. Miami, 10. I don't necessarily agree with these, but this is average draft position. Chicago, 11. Then Tampa. Then Houston. The worst defense in the league is considered to be the Carolina Panthers. No surprise. They were the worst team in the league last year. The Los Angeles Rams are considered to be the 31st best. Tennessee is 30th. The Cardinals, 29th. The Commanders, 28th. The Jaguars defense that I feel like over the last couple seasons has gotten better. They regard their defense as the 7th out of 32. And they've been a lot higher recently. So that's kind of interesting there. So taking a look as we get you ready for your fantasy football draft in the Fantasy Football Power Hour, probably presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, trying to help you out today by analyzing where players are being drafted by position. So who's the number 1, 15, 20 overall receiver, and then where are they being drafted overall within the draft itself. So where are they regarded by position, and then where are they regarded by the drafts that have happened this year overall? Where are these guys getting drafted? Looking at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, kicker, and team defense and special teams. So that is a big time analysis here. Hopefully it helps you with, not big time talking like highly of myself, just saying a lot of names talked about, a lot of things broken down here, and going individually as well as overall draft position, trying to help you out in your fantasy football draft. All of ours for Wake Up Call are coming up. Our 2 Central New York ones are going to happen at the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, this Saturday, August 24th and Sunday, August 25th. And they'll be followed by our one down, our final step aside. And we'll be back to wrap up this edition of Wake Up Call right after this fast break.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks comes to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. They're open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5, providing for you an opportunity unlike any other sports card and trading card shop, in my opinion, because of a lot of the things that are happening in the background that you might not even know about, and I'm happy to tell you here. And that is what these gentlemen go through just to find those boxes and packs and making sure that their inventory always has awesome stuff, a mix of things that are from the last few years, some old stuff, some new stuff, and trying to get things in immediately, like Disney Lorcana. In the beginning, it was tough to get Disney Lorcana stuff in, and in the last few series, they've done a fantastic job of having stuff on site, on location, the day it's released nationally. So a big time thanks to Anthony Campbell, who's doing a ton of amazing work with inventory, and Josh Gideon doing great work leading the entire team, doing a million different things overall, as well as Alex and Joel. I want to thank everybody at GG Cards and Breaks for their attention to detail, for the time that they take making a box for every NFL, every MLB, and every NBA team. Grading the cards, getting them out there, making sure that they've sent out a bunch of things to get graded. Those have come back. I'm sure there's more. They just sent out a bunch more stuff. They have singles. And when you go in there, you go in on a Tuesday, you go back in on Saturday of the same week, that display case can look totally different. I know that over the last couple months, they have definitely changed who's in that display case as far as like football goes and baseball goes and whatnot. And that's because people are buying stuff. That's because, different guys are coming up. They're getting some awesome cards coming in. autos, rookie patch autos, aka RPAs, numbered cards. A lot of great things have happened. Great boxes, great box breaks. We do our box breaks exclusively brought to you by GG Cards and Breaks. And I just got 2 boxes from them. I got a Bowman U Chrome and got an Xavier Worthy auto out of that. And then I got a Stars insert of Dalton Kincaid from my tin that I bought from them. So I've gotten some awesome things from them. I got my one and only downtown ever from them. I got my downtown Kenny Pickett. At the time when I got the card from one of their tins, it was $1,000 card. And I got that from a $40 tin that I got at GG Cards and Breaks. So they've definitely had a lot of awesome success stories that have come through there, a lot of great cards that were picked up, and they definitely care about the community in a really special and unique way. GG Cards and Breaks is a place that any community, in my opinion, would be grateful to have if they were in any state, any city, any town. And I'm spoiled, we're spoiled, that they're right here in central and upstate New York, and you can go out and visit them today, and I implore you to do so by going out to 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank you for tuning into today's broadcast on all of our channels worldwide on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And many thanks to all of you that go to our archives and that not only listen to the show and watch the show in our archives, but have subscribed. It is free to subscribe or follow. Whatever the button is on each of these channels, make sure you click it so you're not just with us once, but you're with us all throughout the year. On Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. You can also ask Alexa to play the latest episode of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You can ask Google Home to do that, and they'll do that for you as well. Big time thanks to our incredible team in Central and Upstate New York, Heritage Hill Brewhouse and Heritage Hill North, Carvel DeWitt. Today is Wednesday, so every day of the week you can get the DT Dolphin, my exclusive Sunday, that's only at Carvel DeWitt. Not just Carvel, but only Carvel DeWitt, 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. Go and get the DT Dolphin down the road from the Moyne College Dolphins, and inspired by my partnership with them. It is mint chocolate chip ice cream, green for the Dolphins, hot fudge, whipped cream and a cherry, green and gold sprinkles, and a chocolate dolphin jumping out of your whipped cream. Available every day of the week, and on Wednesdays, buy one, get one. So go today and bring somebody that you care about and get yourself 2 DT Dolphins for the price of 1 every Wednesday, including today. So celebrate back to school by going and getting yourself 2 DT Dolphins for the price of 1 on Wednesdays, including today. The Wildcat Sports Pub, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Brian's Landing, GG Cards and Breaks, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world. They are closed for their store in Liverpool on 201 7th North Street because they're going to be at the fair. They're all over the fair. You'll see Ma and Pa's, Spud Shack, their lemonade stand as well. They're going to be all throughout the fair, so go and visit Ma and Pa's at the Great New York State Fair from today, August 21st, through Labor Day, which is Monday, September 2nd. Great Lakes Honda City, Mother's Cupboard, the home of my breakfast sandwich exclusively, the Cuse Mac Mother. The Cuse Mac Mother is bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. Cut it up and have it with syrup. Pick it up and eat it like a sandwich and dip it in syrup like I do. Servomation. See how they're revitalizing, reimagining, and recreating how we understand vending with their technology and their many, many different opportunities and different choices. The variety from Servomation is amazing. Their kitchen, everything that I thought vending was, Servomation has shown me it's so much better through them. So make sure you go to servomation.com for more information and ask your business as well as your college and university and your school who's doing our vending. And if it's not Servomation, make sure you change to them. Servomation.com for more information. And of course, we thank Brooklyn Pickle, our partner in Southern Pines, right down the road from Pinehurst Golf Courses. you will find them on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. The Brooklyn Pickle, North Carolina. You just got your best sandwich shop in the community in Southern Pines. The Moyne College Dolphins are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Dolphins every single Wednesday, including today during Dolphin Time at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And you'll find all of our Dolphin content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Lemoyne playlist. You'll also find the Dolphins on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LemoyneDolphins.com and go to the game this Thursday, doubleheader that we got with the Dolphins. Women's soccer in their second home game and third game overall. The men are opening their season at home. The women are at 1, the men are at 4 this Thursday, August 22nd. Doubleheader to support your Dolphins on campus on the Heights on Ted Grant Field. Go and see them this Thursday, August 22nd, both teams together, and always support your Dolphins. For more information, go to LemoyneDolphins.com. Fins up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You will find your Bobcats every single month in what we call the Bobcat Buzz. And the Bobcat Buzz coming to you with men's and women's soccer coming up this season. Our previews will be here for you for two teams that have won national championships under the head coaches that they have. Nick Dimitrievsky with the men's team, who's won multiple national championships, and Alex Grigorita, who won a national championship with the women's soccer team as their head coach back in 2021, just a couple seasons ago. So make sure that you're supporting all their sports, including their upcoming men's and women's soccer seasons, men's and women's basketball, baseball, and esports. You'll find our coaches, student athletes, and administration specials on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, find the BSC Syracuse playlist. You'll also find the Bobcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. Two locations, James Street in Syracuse, just up the road from downtown, and across the street from Avicoli's off of Route 57 in Liverpool. Go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats in a partnership unlike any other that they have, and that is right here on Wake Up Call, inside of what we call Bearcat Time. The Bobcats are with you every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and we're bringing you stories with Gene Marshall, the Binghamton University Athletics Director, throughout the year, and what we call Moments with Marshall, and the Bearcat Break Room, where we're learning about the student athletes, coaches, and administration that make the Bearcats who they are. You'll find the Bearcats on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the Binghamton playlist. You'll also find the Bearcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to bubearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, I want to give a special thanks to my Dolphin Dive guest today on the heels of, or I should say on the eve of what their season is to be here. The 2024 season opens up this Thursday. Callum Donnelly joined me today going into that first game. And last week, we did the same thing with Lemoyne women's soccer with Yaro Zavaslan, their head coach, joining me on the eve of their first game of the season. So very excited and look forward to seeing you out for a doubleheader at Lemoyne this Thursday, August 22nd at 1 o'clock for the women and at 4 o'clock the season and home opener for the men. Big time thanks to the Wildcat for all that they do, hosting us every year for fantasy football, for our fantasy football drafts, and bringing the community together in general. I was there last night, and I'll be there this Saturday and this Sunday. So I'll be there 3 times in a calendar week here at the Wildcat, and I'm no stranger to the Wildcat. Thanks to Danny Tome and your entire team there. Everyone that's there, Nikki and Andrea and Delaney and Shane, and I mean, I don't want to forget anybody, everyone that's there, the entire Tome family. I want to give you all a big time shout out, Johnny, and so on and so forth. So I appreciate you all tremendously. And to those that I named, I appreciate you. To those that I did not say here in this broadcast, it is definitely not on purpose. I love and respect and appreciate Zach. I want to mention him as well. Appreciate you all for all that you do at the Wildcat. And happy to have fantasy football coverage back here on Wake Up Call. We do it every year, and we try to help you out in your draft strategy going into your drafts for this season with today's edition of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, brought to you exclusively by the Wildcat. I'll talk with you all soon. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. Check it all out. Like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. And of course, we'll see you tonight at Heritage Hill North, 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, right there at Sweetheart Corners. We'll see you there tonight for our CNS North Stars football kickoff preview for Jim Ryan's first season as the head coach. We'll see the families, the players, as well as the coaches, and hopefully all of you tonight, August 21st at 7 p.m. for dinner and a show kicking off the season with CNS football. Thank you to all of you for watching and listening. Thank you all for your support. And as always, God bless. No stress. Do your best. Have a fantastic day. I'll talk with you soon.